So I'm on with Carlos Alfonso today. He's an old friend of mine, but he's a success story, in my humble opinion, because he found a way to self-prescribe and save himself a lot of trouble and pain and potentially an early death because he was smart enough to realize that the opiates he was on were killing him. And so we're going to go back farther, but we're going to get to that in a minute. But I want you to first tell me about your childhood. How did you grow up? Where did you grow up? What was your childhood like?
I grew up in just outside of LA in a small city. And
what was the town?
Temple City.
Temple City?
Temple City was the name of the city where our house was and where I grew up.
Yeah.
And it was middle class, just suburban middle class, really, and not a lot of trouble. There was a lot of money, I think, at my high school.
Yeah.
There was money. All right, I know there was money at that school, but where I grew up and I went to that high school, I lived where they said you can either go to this high school or this high school. You're on the tracks. And my parents, of course, chose what they thought was a better high school. And it was a lot more money in that high school than...
So the classes were better, the teachers were probably better.
They say that, but you know what? Who knows? In this state, from what I've seen with my kids who are now in high school...
In North Carolina?
In North Carolina, I don't think the teaching here or the schooling here is as good as out west. I'm sorry.
Well, at least for when you came through.
Right. But see, even now... What they're teaching to me isn't. You should be teaching a lot. I don't think the teaching is the same.
Don't hold back. What should they be teaching?
I just don't think the teaching is the same. I think they hold back here on history. They don't teach all of history. They only teach you what they want you to know here.
What can you give me any examples of that?
Yeah, even the Civil War history. I don't think from what I learned and what I see my children learning and reading about, they don't try to teach them everything. They only teach, I think, what they want them to know.
Well, Charmaine actually teaches kindergarten here in Buncombe County. Charmaine, have you seen any forces of curriculum at the younger levels? No comment? Okay.
See, my sister's,
Sorry.
and I have a sister who's a teacher in LA.
Yeah.
She's a third grade teacher, but I just do, from what I learn and from what I'm seeing what my kids are being taught, it's a lot different, man. It's a lot. We were taught, to me, everything that we needed to know. You know, what, from the past in history. I'm not talking, nowadays, you can look anything up on it. I didn't have that growing up. We didn't have internet.
At all.
No, we had to read a book and learn from a book.
And so people can get a gauge for your age. What year did you graduate from high school?
I graduated in 1987.
87. All right.
From high school at 18.
Okay. So you weren't held back. It seems.
No, I wasn't. I joined the Army at 17.
Yeah.
Had to finish high school before they put me into advanced training. So I did my basic training my junior year of summer.
Yeah.
And then I went to high school. Yeah.
JROTC?
No. I went to basic training in Fort Jackson, South Carolina. My dad emancipated me.
Wow, so you went from California to South Carolina. What was that culture shock like?
First time that I remember being on a plane.
Okay, yeah.
Because I had been on a plane as a baby, but never as a young adult or even a teenager.
Yeah.
So I was pretty scared. I didn't even know what the Army was about. I only saw movies or shows of what it was. So I had no idea when I got there. Yeah. And that was a big shock. Even the plane ride to me was the coolest thing because I don't remember ever doing it.
So to you at that age, it was like a sense of adventure. You were going to go.
Yep.
You told me that you told me before off camera that you had decided to go into the Army because you were kind of
too many people. I didn't. I got rid of a lot of pot. A lot of people knew that I can get pot and wanted pot.
So
get them pot.
When you were a teenager, you were selling marijuana.
Yeah.
In California.
Yep, in high school.
And you kind of felt the heat.
Yeah. And I said, you know what, I in the sense of adventure, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna end up in jail, or maybe just get the hell out of here.
Well, so a lot of people get pushed into that choice, jail or military, and sometimes it comes by the way of a judge. I mean,
right.
I had a buddy who the judge was like, "Hey, you can go to Iraq, or you can go to jail.
Right.
He's like, what do you want to do? And he's like, well, I guess I'm going to Iraq. And he ended up getting blown up, and he's okay, but, I mean, he's got back problems for the rest of his life now. So it's like, was it the better choice? I don't know.
Yeah, I think for me, it was because after the military, I became a diabetic right when I finished advanced training. I got home, and I was 198 pounds. I went down to 145 pounds in a month.
How did you become a diabetic at such a young age? Was it just
Type 1 diabetes? They said because you were probably so active as a young kid, you were controlling your diabetes that way. But when you were in the military and you're exercising that much, you're controlling your diabetes. But I just finished advanced training, and all of a sudden I went within a month. Like I said, I had to buy size 26 waist belts. I was 18 years old.
So you were just kind of like falling away on yourself,
and I knew something was wrong.
Yeah.
I knew something was wrong. I said, I'm not right. Look at me. I tried on my uniform and it wouldn't fit.
Yeah.
And I thought it wasn't mine. I looked on the back and my name was on the back, my pants. And I said, went to my sergeant. I said, you know what? Something's not right. And they took me to the hospital. It was a doctor or a hospital, military hospital in California. They ran blood sugar tests, and my blood sugar was 786 or something, and 110 is normal.
Now, were you at the time like unknowingly eating sugary foods?
Oh, I was drinking a lot of soda.
And so the diabetes got triggered probably by your poor diet. Because when we're young, we just eat whatever we want.
It wasn't really the food, I think. It was more soda. Because I could drink a 12-pack of Pepsi in a day.
And were you drinking alcohol too at the
No.
time? No? Okay.
No.
Okay, well, good thing. Right?
I didn't even, I don't even think I did. I didn't even smoke cannabis or use cannabis when I was in.
Yeah, well, how could you? It's just almost
They
impossible.
give you drug tests. They
Yeah.
do call your numbers out and say,
Yeah.
come to the bathroom.
Yeah.
But the military is what made. So when I got out of the military, no job. I was always an assistant manager for every job, except for when I started with the shoe company, which they didn't know me from Adam, and I was with them for a week, and they told me to straighten out their stockroom, and I straightened it out. District manager came in and said, you know what, we're going to make you an assistant manager for the store. What do you think of that? And I said, I'll do it. And then within 3 months, I get a call from the regional manager offering me a store in Brooklyn.
Wow.
And I said, no. And I was in Atlanta, Georgia at the time. And I said, you know what? I left L.A. because there was just too much problems, too much crowding, and I don't want to go to Brooklyn. He called me back a month later and said, I got a store opening in Miami.
Well, equally as crowded.
Exactly. And I said, ugh. And then I said to him, you know what? I don't think you'll ever offer me another store, but I can't take that either. And I apologize, and I know you're thinking of me trying to offer. He said, oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Then he called me up again about 2 weeks later, and he said, we're opening a store in Orlando.
Okay.
And I
Also
said, you know
crowded,
what? I said, you know what? I'll check it out.
Yeah.
I said, I'll check it out. And at that time, I was just dating my wife. And I told her, I said, you know what? I'm going to go to Orlando. And if you want to come, you can come. If you don't, it's up to you. But I may go because it's my opportunity to make more money and be okay.
Where were you living then?
Atlanta, Georgia.
You were in Atlanta. All right.
Georgia.
And you met her in Atlanta.
Right.
She was a barkeep?
She was a bartender.
Bartender? Yeah.
Bartender.
A barkeep.
She was a bartender, and we were both in Atlanta. She's from Wisconsin.
Yeah.
We were both in Atlanta, and it was '96 because the Olympics. It was
Yeah.
the Olympics were going on, and she was at a bar where my boss would take me to after work at the shoe store.
Yeah.
And we'd go in there and drink, and we met that way.
Yeah.
We met that way.
And so you took the job in Orlando.
Yeah, I took the
Obviously.
job in Orlando.
And you did that for how long?
Like 5 or 6 years.
5 or 6 years. And
5 or 6 years I did that.
so
Then
this
what
was-
happened there was they started cutting our commission.
So this was Gulf War era then? At that point, by the time...
It was 90... me and my wife met in 96.
No,
so,
but like by the time 5 or 6 years later, that was 2001, right?
Yeah, but I wasn't with the shoe company.
Oh, you had moved on.
I'd moved to I'd left the shoe company and started working as assistant manager for Walgreens again.
Oh, here we go.
I had done that in the early early 90s. I did it for a while. Moved to Atlanta. There was no Walgreens at the time in Atlanta. So that's when I started with the shoe company. And then I moved to Orlando with the shoe company, and there was Walgreens. And they offered me a lot more money to be an assistant manager, and I worked for them.
How did you end up in Asheville, though?
One of my bosses who worked for the shoe company, a district manager from Orlando who worked for the shoe company, was from Asheville. He went to Asheville High.
Oh, yeah?
And he was pretty well known there because he said he had his name up there. He's a big guy. He played football.
Okay.
And he told me, Carlos, I think you would like Asheville. Because I was looking at Colorado Springs, because I had lived in Colorado Springs and I loved it.
Yeah.
So he said, you know what, why don't you go check out Asheville? Check out Asheville.
You and Tracy came up here.
Yeah, him and I hadn't even talked for a couple of years already. But I was looking to buy a house from Naples, Florida. Yeah. I was living in Naples, right by the beach.
Well, that's an original story. Coming to Asheville from Florida.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding.
But this is 2002.
My house was
3, 4.
It had to be 4.
4.
It had to be 4, yeah, because Ava was born in 2004.
That was when I graduated college. So.
Yeah, and we came here and well, I couldn't find a house in Colorado Springs for the price. I was looking to buy a house for $190 was my max to spend at the time.
Mm-hmm. So it's a military area. You think you'd find it, but
and then I said, you know what? I told my wife, let's look at Asheville because this guy keeps telling me in the past. He would always tell me it's the same as Colorado Springs. Let's go check it out. Colorado Springs is very hippie, very very hippie, very laid back. You can leave your doors open. And no one's gonna break into your house. Your friends will come over when you're not home. Sit there and wait for you to get home. Whatever.
It's kind of like that here.
That's what he told me. So I said, I'll check it out. And then when we came here, we did find a house, and I'm glad I did.
We good? Okay, you snapped. I thought. Oh, sorry. I thought our audio had dropped or something.
No, my knuckles cracked.
Okay, but Asheville was where we came, and I came to Asheville because I was managing for CVS or Walgreens actually.
Well,
in Naples.
I met you at CVS in
right,
2009, 10, something like that.
Yep.
And that was my wife was working there.
Yeah, but see, in Naples, I worked for Walgreens, and as an executive assistant on a good salary. But I got angry because after I was with them for 11 years and they weren't going to make me general manager, they gave it to some young high school guy. Yeah. Practically, and I said, you know what? I'm gonna go talk to CVS because CVS had just bought all the Eckerd's pharmacies, and they needed managers. So I went to the DM for CVS and I said, look, I'm an executive assistant for these guys on a salary. How long? I'll work for you for 6 months as an assistant, as long as you can guarantee me a store.
Yeah.
And within 3 months, I had a brand spanking new store, beautiful store. Huge bonuses.
This wasn't the one on.
It wasn't even in. It was in Florida. It was in Florida. Yeah. And then I told him too. I said, and when you give me that store, I plan on moving. I'll give you a year as a manager in that store, but I have to move, and I want you to help me transfer to where I want to go.
Yeah.
And he did. I came here, met Anthony Randall, and told him, hey, can you make sure I get the same? Because they didn't want to give me the same pay.
Of course not.
And I said, no. I said, I can't do it because this is what I make. My economy, my system of paying is what I make. So I have to make the same to keep my bills intact.
Yeah.
And
especially if you're moving here.
And Anthony said, yeah, we can do that. And then to tell you the truth, I found out years later, not even years later, months later, that I was making more than some of the managers who had been in this area for 14 years managing.
Just don't say anything.
And that's what they want. They want you to shut your mouth. And I said, I won't say anything. But when they told me what they were making, I looked down and like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it. I said, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
I would not do it. And they tried to get rid of me.
That's happening.
They tried to get rid of me because I was making too much.
It's happening even more now with the merger with my wife. I mean, there was this merger at her company, and all of a sudden, the pharmacists who are coming in, who are being hired new, are making way, way less than the pharmacists made when we came through.
That's wrong.
I mean, like almost half. And so, what are the store managers making? What are and how do you exist in a county like Buncombe County when they're doing that to you? They're strangling people.
I know. You can't even buy a house. I'm telling you right now. If you want to buy a house in Asheville, you got to sell your house in Florida or New York because you're not going to have the money.
Well, they do it and they think they're getting a deal.
Exactly. But boy, I thought I did get a deal because now my house.
But you also bought like 18 years ago.
Yep. Now my house is $440.
Well, we bought 5 years ago and my house has doubled.
Yeah.
And so
the house behind me, the guy just sold it for $520.
It doesn't make
or
any sense.
$540. Yeah, it was crazy. I was like, oh.
And it's just like a 1,200 square foot property.
Yeah.
On an acre.
If even I'm not on a full acre.
Yeah, you're probably on
I'm
a
not
0.5,
acre.
0.5.
0.7, I think it was.
Yeah.
0.73 or something, they said.
Yeah, out in Salt Lake, 0.25 was going for $250. You know, and it was a bigger house, but on a smaller plot.
Right.
And so, I mean, that's a really good price.
You know, I looked at homes in Colorado Springs before I bought the one, and they're expensive. They went up. I paid $200 a month rent for a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom apartment.
Yeah.
You know, full apartment, $200, and I would make $200 because I bartended. I would make $200 in one night and pay my rent in one night. So I partied a lot.
Well, I was going to get to that, but it's more of a tangented question. When did you come to the realization that recreationals were medicinal?
Oh, when I got MS, man.
It wasn't when you were like pre-diabetic or anything like that?
Even as a diabetic, and I've even told my doctor, my endocrinologist, that how come when I smoke cannabis or use cannabis in any way, even as an edible, my sugar goes down or stays more controlled than when I don't use the cannabis? And his response to me was, you have less stress. There's less stress.
That's
Obviously,
all?
it's relaxing you enough to make, yeah, that's all it takes, I guess, to help the body control everything.
Charmaine, when you get the chance, and this can be later in the program, when you get the chance, look up that Army general who was blamed for all the Afghanistan stuff. He's just, I don't know. He's like really fat, and he's like super stressed out looking, and he's got these bags under his eyes that look like half moons. Just look up Army general blamed for terrorist attacks in Afghanistan. But he was on the TV, and he was trying to explain what they were doing, and I was like, look at the stress in his face. Like, look at how could you live that way? And I was just
I think I know. I think I saw. He's red too. He's always red.
He's always porkly red.
Yeah.
And
he's a big guy too.
A really big guy. And I was talking to the TV like my dad, and I was like, "Go home to your grandkids, man. What are you doing?" It's like, dude, you don't belong up there. Go home. Save yourself a decade of life. You don't need this, man.
Yeah.
But the stress alone will kill you.
But you know what? And that's what cannabis. Even when I tell a lot of my doctors, even when I'm in the hospital here at Mission, and they ask, and I tell them, yeah, I use cannabis. Even last time I went to the emergency room, and the nurse told me, it was an old lady who's, not even the nurse, it was a doctor, I told you. It was the older lady doctor. She told me, that's okay, bless your heart. When I told her I use cannabis, bless your heart, she said. It's exactly what she said.
What do you think she meant by that?
That yeah, you're doing the right thing. You're doing the right thing, not taking my gastro doctor in Wake Forest. When I went to him, I had spent 108 days at Mission.
I know you had.
Because of all the pills.
Him.
Yeah.
Poor guy. I mean, look at the pain in his face.
Yeah. He hasn't slept in days.
He
hasn't got 8 hours in years.
I know it's an important position, but if it's doing that much to someone, do we really need them to do it?
Or do we really need one person?
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, could it be a panel or a parliament of people? I don't know. It seems like that could get kind of bureaucratic, but
it already is. It already is.
All right, get him off. It's awful. It's horrible. I feel bad for his wife. She probably never sees him, if he even has one anymore. Anyways, but what were you saying?
That even my gastro doctor, he's an older gentleman. He told me this. When he saw the list of medications I was taking,
And how many were there?
18, but some of them were like you take 4. Some of them I could take up to 8 a day. They told me.
You
Some
would
of
be
those
full
pills.
on pills.
And when he saw that, he said to me, "Are these pills helping you?" No. And I said, "You know what? I don't think so. I don't think they're doing anything."
Well,
And he says, "Well, you know what? Stop taking them now."
what year was this? Was this when we had gotten
This
back?
was 5 or 6 years ago
Yeah, so
when
20
I found out that I had
2015.
MS too.
So we came back, and we knew you had MS then, but you were going through the throes of it because you were
Yeah,
trying
I was
to
always in the
control it.
hospital. Remember, you guys came and visited me a few times in the
Yeah,
hospital.
some of those were rough visits.
And I was
You
there
thought
for-
you were dying.
Yeah, there were times I thought I'm gonna die. And I had a visit with my gastro doctor where they do every 6 months. They go in and do an endoscopy. They got to put me to sleep, and they give me injections of Botox on the muscle that's in your lower intestine, but at the bottom of your stomach,
Yeah.
to paralyze it so it stays open. And then he puts balloon in there and spreads it open so that if not, because it's called gastroparesis, which happens to diabetics, they say, not MS, because I keep blaming MS, and they tell me, no, it's not your MS. But it happens to diabetics, they say, where that muscle doesn't work anymore, and your food, your stomach doesn't break down the food. It sits there and rots, and all you do is vomit.
Yeah.
Because it's not going anywhere. It's not being decomposed or going anywhere. So I would spend a week every month almost to 10 days, once a month in the hospital because I couldn't stop throwing up, and to the point where I was throwing up blood.
Yeah, I know.
And it was just blood coming up. And he's the one who said to me when he saw all the pills I was taking. A doctor in Mission told me, came to me, intern doctor, because he was doing his rounds.
Young guy?
Young guy came to me and said, he came to me like every time I ended up in the hospital for it, and he came to me and said, "Hey, you need to go to Wake Forest. There's a doctor who was my teacher who is doing studies on what you have, and he can help you." So I said, all right. So I called that doctor in Wake Forest, and he said, "Come, you have to spend 3 days here in Wake Forest, and we'd run 3 days worth of tests."
Yeah.
So they had a hotel where they could put you up. You had to be, for 3 days. You paid the 3 days, but they give you a deal because you're going to the hospital.
Yeah.
And they ran 3 days of tests, and when I got those 3 days testing, he said, "Here's what we're gonna do." He said, "We're gonna go in this Botox will last 6 months and give you a shot in that, and that muscle's not working."
Yeah.
So he did that, and he told me to stop taking all the pills. And right there, after I stopped taking all the pills, within a week, I was already 50% better. I felt
But you
already
didn't
better.
have a weird relapse or some type of because they say if you take certain opiates, you
No, because most of mine were like a baclofen, which isn't it's not an opiate,
got it.
but it's used as a receptor for nerve to stop the connection, not allow the connection for the pain or for cramps, spasticity in your leg, because
Yeah.
sometimes my legs will just start shaking,
Yeah.
or I get cramps that,
You can't.
oh my God.
Worst cramps ever.
Yeah. So that's a lot of those meds. And then recently I went and saw a new neurologist because Mission's having all kinds of problems. Their doctors are quitting.
And tell me about that though. Do you mind if I interrupt?
No.
So, Mission's having all sorts of problems because their doctors are quitting. But why? This is post-COVID. It's like COVID came in and dropped a bunch of.
But you know what? They were
Oil
always,
and water.
right before that,
There was a buyout.
there was a buyout. It
Yeah.
became privately owned instead of per profit. There's a big difference when Mission wasn't per profit. Now they're for profit.
Now, so what's happened, what we can speculate is that many of the doctors, nurses, and practitioners, whomever who were there, their values feel tarnished.
And they've said that to me. They've even told me that before they left and said you're going to have to find a new doctor.
Okay.
So that they even feel that they're doing unethical. They want them to do unethical things, which is probably not really unethical, but to them, it feels like this. You shouldn't do this to somebody. You shouldn't treat somebody like this.
Talking about the
not a
patients.
business, yeah.
And also probably the nurses are being overworked.
Oh yeah,
Especially
they're
post-COVID.
quitting. They're if you go to Mission, I'm telling you, it's probably
They're-
80% people who are traveling nurses. Mission will pay for their rent,
Well, they're like
pay for the
ringers.
food, and they make a $12,000 bonus just for coming to
they're-
travel for them.
Well, that's a ringer in baseball, right? That's what happens when
Yeah.
you bring in a ringer.
Yep.
And so, what we're seeing right now at Mission, which is on the top of our list because my wife is going to be working at Mission potentially, is you drive over there right now, and a lot of the nurses who are disgruntled are picketing, and they're not blocking, but they're right outside the ER. And
I'm
they're,
surprised they're even allowing it.
I know,
I really
right?
am surprised they're
But
allowing
then,
it.
all while that's happening, just like in the MLB, when Jose Canseco and all those guys
They're
were doing,
they're bringing in
They're-
all these traveling
it's the
nurses.
replacements.
But you know
coming in.
what? Those replacements are not happy either because I'm on a social media site where they talks about mission maladies, and man, they're not happy either. They're happy about their pay, but they're not coming back once their contract is done.
Yeah.
And some of them are even paying to get out of their contract because you can pay to get out.
Well, what I've heard through the rumor mill, and that's exactly what this is that,
Oh yeah, it all is really.
But-
We won't know the truth.
but that some of the nurses are complaining about, what's it called?
Patient.
Unsafe work environments.
They're having
Because
7
of COVID.
patients to 1 nurse,
Yeah.
and it's supposed to be a 3 to 1 max.
Well, imagine being in the COVID rooms.
Yeah, I would not. That to me, that job, I could never do that job, and not because I couldn't do that job, but because the empathy or the feelings I would have to seeing somebody
And they can't,
going
their,
through that.
and their families looking
Exactly,
at them through
and
a
you
window.
can't.
And
Nah,
you're
I
allowed
just
in,
couldn't do that.
but,
Yeah,
but
I
you're in
couldn't do that.
hazmat suit the whole time.
I couldn't do it.
I mean, okay, so back to where you were going with this. So you were on 18 pills,
Yeah,
and the doctor said just stop taking them.
stop taking them.
But and this whole time, I mean, Carlos was smoking weed, right?
Oh yeah,
I mean, that's how we met.
yeah.
A long, long time ago. Okay,
Yeah.
like so.
I've always said, you know what? I don't like to buy it because I don't know what's in it.
But this gets us to where so my initial question was, how did you get from recreationals to realizing they were medicinal? But now, so he's very resourceful. Probably one of the more resourceful men I know, and that's why he's in here talking to me right now. And the reason why I wanted to bring you in was you are in certain aspects a breadth or a wealth of information on for what it takes to grow your own cannabis. Okay, medicinal cannabis for the ailments that you have, or for for whatever reason. Some people want to grow weed. A lot of times it's because they're in pain. In your case, you were most definitely in pain, but also there was an aspect of you've been a lifelong smoker, from what I can tell, and so like it was kind of a commonality for you to continue, and it didn't make sense, especially once you lost your management position because of the MS. It didn't make sense for you to just keep trying to buy it. Also, the weed in Asheville, if you try to buy it, sucks most of the time. And so, you know,
When it doesn't, it's expensive.
it's either way too expensive, or it's not good, or it's CBD and they're pretending it's
Yeah,
weed.
exactly.
And so,
That happens a lot here.
yeah, and so in your case, you know, when this all started, the Delta 8 movement and the CBD movement was still not even there or in its infancy. And so that wasn't even an option for you, but you found cannabis to help your MS in significant ways. Can you tell us how?
Yeah, for me, the worst thing with the MS is the spasticity, the muscles, the cramps. Those hurt, man. Those hurt. And when you use cannabis, even when my neurologist, because she asked me what it does to me, because she was trying to figure out if I was using it for the right reasons or just recreational. Mm-hmm. And regardless, I was going to use it recreational. But I told her the first thing that I noticed when I use cannabis is my muscles release. They're not tightened up. Mm-hmm. If I don't smoke cannabis, My muscles are like rocks.
Well, someone
And
could
sometimes
say,
I can't even bend my leg. It'll stick straight up.
well, someone could say, well, that's just the addiction of cannabis.
Yeah.
And
No, because I can go without it too.
yeah.
And
Well, I've seen you go long stretches
yeah,
without it.
I can go without it.
And you're not a happy guy, but you get through.
Yeah, yeah.
But when recently have you taken a hiatus from cannabis? And what did you see happen with your MS when you were not on cannabis? How, like, even if it was just a 2-week stretch?
I couldn't sleep. I've had so much trouble sleeping, and I still do take. I take 4 pills a day. One's Tamulocin, which is for your bladder.
Tamulocin.
Yeah, which is for bladder, and
Okay.
it's a bladder issue because of MS.
Yeah.
I've been to the doctor, the urologist,
Yeah.
and he said no, your prostate, everything is normal.
Yeah.
It's MS. Then I take the Cinepril, 20 milligram tablet, which is for my blood pressure,
Yeah.
and that's also due to MS because I've been to the cardiac doctors, and they all said they've tested my kidney. Well, I'm going to a hypertension kidney doctor in Asheville coming up here soon, but they said that your heart is normal. Your heart is fine. They even put a monitor on my heart for 2 weeks. Your heart is normal. Your blood pressure issue is an autonomic symptom from MS.
What's that mean, autonomic?
That your body normally automatically regulates it. It's automatic, can regulate its own blood pressure.
Okay.
When you have MS, that circuit could be broken like a thermostat on your heater, and it's not going to let you know where you're at.
So what happens to you when that happens?
I've had both lows and highs. On my lows, I feel like because I'm a diabetic too, I know when my sugar gets low, I get shaky and sweaty, and I can't. But it's the worst feeling, and it's happened. That's why I went to the hospital thinking I was having a heart attack. It's worse than when it's high. When it's high, you get a headache, and it doesn't bother me as much. When it's low, I'm about to fall out. And you were with me one time. You were at my house.
We came to you. We just sat down, and he went like this. He went.
Yeah, I didn't feel good. I was like, my blood pressure,
Yeah.
because
And we sat with you, and I think you got some sugar in you. You ate like a Werther's caramel
remember
thing.
either. I remember
And then-
that you were there. You and Andrea were there, and I
Yeah.
remember feeling like crap. All of a sudden,
Yeah.
and that's because it was low.
Well, we left, and then we came back.
Yeah, you did come back.
We
I was in my room.
We let you take a minute, and then we went for a walk around your neighborhood. Lovely neighborhood, by the way. And then we came back, and we sat with you and did whatever.
Yeah. And recently, I went to my endocrinologist, which is my diabetes doctor, and my blood pressure was 210 over 190.
Is that bad?
Oh yeah, they came in. They came in.
I'm not a numbers
They
person.
came in, and he says, "I'm gonna call an ambulance. You need to get to the hospital ER."
Really?
And me and my wife looked at him and said, "No, you're not. I don't feel sick. I got a headache. I don't feel bad. This is," and he knew because we had talked about my MS and the blood pressure.
Yeah.
And he said, "You should take yourself to the ER." And I said, "No." And then he said, "Well, in 15 minutes, I'm going to check your blood pressure again. I'm not letting you leave." So he checked it again, and it was like 185 over.
So it's going down.
Yeah, and he says, okay. And I told him, I said, it's going to go down. It's just, it does that on its own. It does.
Yeah.
And my neurologist said, my MS doctor said that can happen. And there's nothing they can do to fix that. So now I have to go see a hypertension and kidney doctor because my other doctor said that I need to see them and that there is a pill they can give you when it gets too high that'll just bring it down at one time and it won't, you don't have to keep taking it.
Yeah.
You don't have to. All right, and I forgot. No, those are 2 pills, Tamulocin, Lisinopril, Tenazidine, and Mirtazapine. Those 2 aren't opiates, but they do calm me down.
Yeah.
They do calm me down, and I take all 4 of those. I only take them before bed. Never take them during the day. I just take them before.
So you don't take any pills when you wake up.
Nope.
I mean, you might smoke some weed.
Yep.
And then you eat. because the weed makes you
I
hungry.
don't even eat much, dude. I eat one meal a day.
Really?
Yeah, I eat one meal a day.
Well, you had a cheeseburger.
And
out there.
that's probably my dinner, man.
Yeah, but
I haven't eaten anything all day.
But you've gained 40 pounds. What's that from?
That's because as when you take insulin as a diabetic, even if you're not a diabetic, people used to take insulin in the past to gain weight.
Yeah.
And that's what it makes you gain weight. It makes you eat, makes you hungry.
So he was really sick about 6 months ago, right? What was this, 8 months ago?
Yeah.
He was in and out of the hospital a lot, but he had lost a lot of weight. He was looking really bony. And then I guess, what do you think brought you from that brink? Like you went from 140
The
to
gastro 187.
the gastro what?
The gastrointestinal doctors.
So when you go and they do the thing and then they let your food digest, that's what's helped you the most.
Because now I can eat without throwing up.
So you go to see them once a month?
Every 6 months.
Every 6 months?
Every 6
Wow,
months.
that's
yes.
all?
Yeah, he goes in and does it. But that puts you to sleep.
Yeah.
You know, they still
Well, I
put
mean-
you to sleep. And
They put you to sleep for a colonoscopy too. I mean, so
they didn't do that for me, man.
well, they're supposed to.
They said they gave me something in the IV to relax me. Oh, I don't know about
Relax
that.
your
I was
butthole.
still awake watching the screen, lady.
What it looked like? Is it a murder scene or what?
It was black and white. They actually did. I was looking up at the screen.
You're like, oh, I remember that meal. Oh, I remember that.
I've
meal.
only had it done once. I think I was 50 because they said at that age, or maybe 40 something, that you have to at least do it once. And
You
I
had
did
to-
have a grandmother die of colon cancer, though. Or she had colon cancer, didn't die from it.
Oh,
She had
your
her, but she
your
was
grandmother
20.
did.
At 28, she was diagnosed with colon cancer,
Yikes.
where she had to have a colostomy bag.
Well, had she died, would you be here? Would you be alive if she had died of that?
Probably my dad would have been around. So
All right, so she had already had it.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, they had him young back then. So.
Yeah, they got married at 18, 17.
Yeah, not anymore.
No.
Yeah, so you.
All those pills. I mean, and my new doctor, my new neurologist, gave me a prescription for which is an opiate because I looked it up when I filled it up, had it filled,
Sneaky,
and I
aren't they?
said I'm not taking it. It's tramadol, which is an opiate.
Yeah.
I read it, and it's an opiate
So why are you refusing tramadol?
because it's an opiate.
That's a bias to opiates in
yeah,
general.
working in the pharmacy for as long as I did, and I mean, for 19 years I worked for Walgreens and CVS
I know
between the
you
two.
were. I mean, you might as well have been back there with the girls.
And at Walgreens, you have to become a certified pharmacy technician. You have to go to school to be a technician.
if you're going to be
If
a
you're a
manager.
manager, yeah.
Well, I mean, you kind of need to know the ropes.
And we did, and I did.
mean-
I did pass all the exams.
But I mean, your street cred was already really high.
Yeah,
So,
but you know what? I never was a guy that liked pills, that trusted pills,
No,
and thought
me neither.
that that's okay to take a pill if you're hurting. No, I never thought that.
yeah.
I never thought that. To me, cannabis. There's no one's ever died or overdosed or even.
Well, they might have driven off a cliff in Boulder or something, but
That you're being stupid then.
yeah.
But no one's ever really. I mean, no, you can't overdose on it.
yeah.
You can't and you know what? When you're coming off of it, it's not the same as coming off of an opiate or a drug that makes you feel different and releases different
You're
chemicals.
a little ornery for 2 or 3 days.
Yeah, you could be a little pain in the
But
ass.
after that, the fog clears and you feel good, and you're like, okay.
yeah,
Right.
it's no to me, and you don't even. I don't even think of it because, as a young guy, I did have an addiction.
Sure.
I went through rehab. I had to go through an addiction.
But
and
that wasn't to cannabis, though.
no, had nothing. And it's funny because when you go through those programs, they don't want you even using cannabis,
Yeah.
or they'll start you over.
What was it that you were addicted to? Was it alcohol?
No, I was addicted to anything that made you speedy.
So cocaine,
Methamphetamine.
methamphetamines, and this was the dirty ones, not the ones the doctors will give you, right? So
No, but they were made by like guys from the same from what's that Breaking Bad. They
Yeah.
were made by guys like that, chemists that knew how to
Yeah.
make it, and the better you make it, the more addicted you get to people to keep buying it, to keep coming for it. And that drug to me, any of those drugs are the worst thing in the world. And I try to tell my kids, don't, you know what? Even if you think you can conquer that and beat it, you never will. Because that was my problem.
Yeah.
Oh, I can do it once or twice. I'll be fine. You know what? Even when you're addicted, you say that to yourself.
Yeah.
But that once or twice, the next day you're saying it again to yourself. Oh, I'll be fine. I can do it once
And
or
then
twice.
3 weeks go by and you haven't
And
not
you haven't
used.
not used. Yeah, exactly.
And it takes twice as much to get there.
Yeah, because at first when I did all that, I was in college.
Yeah.
And I was doing it to stay up and write my papers.
You were doing it to be a good boy.
And then it's an awful thing. Any addiction I can imagine, dude. Being in that position, any type of addiction, it just sucks. You're a slave.
Well, time out.
You're
a grown man and your kids are all teenagers. How are you just told me how you sort of help them navigate through this issue, but now we're in this age where cannabis is pseudo legal in the state, and at 18, I mean it's probably 21, but at 18 I know that they're getting their hands on it, and their gateway drug now probably is CBD or Delta 8, okay? But if you're a teenager and you smoke CBD, and then the older kid comes down the block and he's like, oh, you got CBD? Well, that's for little kids. This is the big stuff. Smoke this indica, see what you feel like. And they're going to say yes. Because if they're already smoking CBD, they're going to smoke indica. Okay? And if it's one of your indicas, it's over. They're going to be off to the moon.
But I don't feel that I've ever... Because, like you said, I've used cannabis for a long time, and I've never felt, even when I was in the rehab for the other things, I never felt. And I would tell the counselors, I don't have a problem with. It was funny because there was a girl one time in our group meetings who was there for marijuana, and I thought, what the hell are you doing? And I even told her, what do you have a problem with dope? And she said, I gave everything away for my dope, all my jewelry, everything I wanted in my pot. And I thought, man, that just sucks. Because I was going through other drugs, but I thought marijuana doesn't do that. Thank God. Mm-hmm. But obviously it could do it, I guess. But I think it's more up here than it is. When I was coming off of the bad drugs, I felt sick. You feel sick.
Yeah.
You feel sick. And the only way to get better is do it.
I mean, what's that Dave Chappelle skit? Remember from the Chappelle show? When he's like,
Tyrone Biggums?
No, with Bob Saget, and he stands up and he's like, I suck dick for coke. Get out of here.
That's Jesus. That's the movie. It's not the Chappelle.
Oh, that was from Half Baked.
That's Half Baked.
Oh, it was Half Baked. That was Bob Saget, though,
yes,
right?
That was Bob Saget.
Best cameo ever. Half Baked when Bob Saget.
Bob Saget shows up on a Half Baked.
Yeah,
marijuana show.
That's so funny. But I mean, I guess it depends on the person.
Yeah, because but I know even alcohol, I'm sure could be like that for someone, man. Even alcohol could be like that.
You say
thank
even
God,
alcohol.
It is.
Alcohol's way worse than cannabis, I think.
Yeah, I do too. But you know what? I grew up in a home where cannabis was looked at like cocaine or heroin.
Well, that's the way they were taught.
Yeah.
Especially
but dude, even to this day, my mom has said, and I haven't talked to my mom in 9 years. We don't talk. But she said that even if cannabis cured cancer, she wouldn't use it.
Well, here we are, and it seems
even if it cures cancer. And my grandmother died of cancer, and the doctors told her to use cannabis to relieve the pain, but she wouldn't. Mm-hmm. She wouldn't.
That's too bad.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So, how are you helping your children navigate this? I mean,
you know what? They know.
Your oldest daughter is super smart.
Yeah.
Nothing against your youngest. I'm sure she is too.
Yeah, I think she's gonna go pretty far.
What do you mean?
My youngest is smarter than
they.
She observes more.
Yeah.
She's one of those that observes and learns.
She's already got goals. You've told me about them.
Yeah, and she makes plans. She wants to do what she wants, and she'll do it. And I don't have a doubt she'll do it.
Yeah, and your son, he's the middle child. Mm-hmm. And so that's its own bag of worms.
Yeah, and he's the only boy.
And he's a lot like you. right?
Yeah.
And he's
In some ways,
he's
yeah.
gotten in some trouble at school, but he's still a good kid. And
Yeah, he knows what's right and wrong. And as far as any other type of he knows how I feel about drugs. I've told him the truth about me.
yeah,
So I'm not going to lie to them. I don't think my wife liked it much, but I told them the truth about me. And to me, it was so that they don't go through that, because it was hell.
yeah,
It was the worst time. It was probably the worst time of my life. Not counting now as I'm older with all these health issues, but
yeah,
yeah, it was a bad time for me, and I don't blame pot.
yeah.
And I don't blame pot as my gateway drug. Even though I started young, it wasn't a gateway. I drank before I smoked pot. So what? I'm going to say alcohol is my gateway drug then.
Sure.
So it wasn't, I don't think it's a gateway drug. And my kids know how I feel about, they know how I feel about psilocybin. They know how I feel about all the
About what?
hallucinogenic,
Psilocybin?
psilocybin.
Yeah.
They know how I feel about that. They know that I don't think you're going to overdose. I don't think you're going to have a problem with it. I think they'll be smart enough to know that, you know, anything that you're addicted to, dude, it's not because they want to be. People don't want to be addicted to anything.
Yeah.
They
Well, I
don't.
mean,
They
cigarettes
really
alone.
don't. Guys who are addicted to pills, they're miserable.
Yeah.
They're freaking miserable. They're not. No one wants to be addicted to anything, but when you are, it'll make you sick. It'll make you sick.
Would you be willing to talk with us about the things that happened with the school systems here when your son did get in trouble?
Yeah, my he didn't, you know, when he got in trouble here, it wasn't, oh, they did send a counselor. What happened at his school, somebody said something that he was talking to some girl. There was another guy's girlfriend. This guy wanted to beat up my son, said he was going to fight my son. My son heard about it. Well, they caught up in the hallways, they met each other in the hallways, and they started throwing fists. Next thing I know is I got the police at the door, I got the school calling me, and my son getting suspended from school for 3 days.
Okay.
And the school pressing charges on my son for throwing a punch and hitting the guy. I went crazy. When the counselor called me and told me that they were going to do that, I went crazy on this guy, because they called DSS to come, and you have to do where they come into your home. These people come into your home for every week for about 8 weeks, once a week, and sit and talk with your kid.
And
In my house.
And here you are, a patient with MS, and you're growing your own cannabis to help heal yourself, or at least treat.
Right, and they didn't know that. But if you come into my house, there's no way you don't know it.
There's no way.
Yeah, you've been there.
It hits you in the face.
You've been there.
It's
yeah.
like that scene from Bugs Bunny when he cuts the fog with a knife to poke his head through and look in.
You told me that. You'd come over and said, dude, the smell's permeating through the walls.
You can smell it
It's
outside.
permeating in here. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he came to my house, and I went off on the guy. I told him, you know what, man? I said, first of all, when I was a kid in school and we got in a fist fight at school, we beat the crap out of each other, and it was done. Nobody pressed charges on nobody.
What's funny
and this kid wasn't even the one pressing the charges on my son.
The school was.
The school was. This kid called my wife, his parents called, and said, we're not doing that. The school's doing it. So then I really went off and said, what? What? And I told the school, you know what? I started cussing the guy. I said, you know what? Your guys are the biggest pussies in this state that I've ever been in. In California, we beat the shit out of each other, and it was done.
Well, see, the thing
we never
is,
thought about it
two
again.
guys get in a fight like that when I was coming through, and they were best friends an hour later.
Yeah,
Because that's just how guys do that. Girls will talk about each other for hours or days, but then we'll just have
and it's over. It's done.
And it's over, and then next thing you know, you're hanging out, drinking soda, talking about it. You're like, oh, you really got me good that one time in the ear. Or, oh, hey, yeah.
And nowadays they don't do that. Yeah. They right away, they said they had the camera, because I guess they have cameras everywhere now too in schools. Mm-hmm. And they said, your son threw the first punch. So
yeah, but
he's
what
being
was
charged.
said? What was said to that point? And I understand, but at the same time, it's like there should be an 11th commandment: don't be a dick. Because if we followed that commandment, don't be a dick, a lot of people wouldn't be killed, murdered, beat up, or God knows what. Because certain people say and do things because they know they can get away with it.
They're still gonna say and do things. Someone's always gonna be upset about something. Someone's not gonna be right about whatever is right or wrong.
Yeah.
To one person, it's not gonna be right.
Yeah.
And I don't know what started the fight. That didn't even bother me. What bothered me was the fight was done, and the school's gonna press charges.
And they're dragging it out more.
Exactly. And I told them that. I told the guy who came to the house, I said, you know what? You guys are just nosy. As far as I'm concerned, you just don't. You want to get involved in my life. And I told him, don't get involved in my life because I don't want you in my life. Mm-hmm. And I told him that. And he got upset because I told him he was a pussy. But he got upset and he said to me, I'm from North Carolina because he was from North Carolina and I was going off on him. And that's just how we do things in this state. Blah, blah. He started just going, but he never did. And he came into the house and I know he smelled pot.
Of course.
And he didn't say a word. And I told him that when he came in, I said, I use cannabis for my MS. And I'm in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
So, and he didn't say a word.
Yeah.
Didn't say a word. And they already knew because in 3rd grade, my daughter's teacher would come to my house and sit at my front door and talk with my daughter for hours sometimes. And they'd sit outside of my front door talking. And she even bought my daughter sneakers one time. Brand new sneakers, nice sneakers. And the next thing I know, my wife's at work, the kids are in school, and I get a knock on my front door.
They just thought you were a deadbeat.
I don't know what they thought, but it pissed me off. I answer my front door, and there's 2 young guys. And I thought they were high schoolers. And all of a sudden, he pulls out, he has like a chain. Pulls out his chain, and there's a badge. 2 badges these guys are wearing. They pull them out. And I said, oh, man. I knew why they were there.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, what's up, guys? And he said, well, your daughter said that you were growing marijuana at home. And I said, really? My daughter doesn't even know what marijuana is because she didn't. I always told her it was my medicine. I didn't tell her it was pot. Mm. And
she's in the 5th grade.
And she was in 3rd grade.
3rd grade, okay.
And I said, yeah, I am. I said, as you can see, I'm in a chair because I was in my chair. And right away they look at my tattoos and he says to me, were you in prison? Did you do time? And I looked at him and I said, dude, this is from the Army. I served in the Army. Uh-huh. And then he says, oh, and he got totally changed. Uh-huh. And he said, well, do you mind if we come in? If you mind, we will have a search warrant. We'll be waiting outside your door because we have to call a judge and they will give us a search warrant and we'll just have... And I said, dude, I said, I have nothing to hide. I said, come in. They came in. He handed me a piece of paper and said, can you sign here? This is giving us permission to search your house. And I said, yep. And I signed it, and I walked him through my entire house and all my grows and said, yep, that's mine. That's mine.
And it's, when you say all your grows, it's just like a
3 or 4 plants, man.
It's like just, yeah, it's a personal...
But at that time, I did have a tent that was 10 by 8. Huge room.
Yeah, but it was...
And he even said when he saw my plants, he said to me, dude, you got a lot of room to grow a lot. This is all you grow? And I said, it's mine. I said, it's for me. I don't sell. I told him, I don't, and I said, because when they first knocked and said this to me, I said, I don't know how you guys found out, because nobody knows that I sell because I don't sell. Mm-hmm. Nobody even knows I have because I don't sell.
Yeah.
And that, I think, right there shut him up real quick, too, like, oh, yeah, you know what, this guy, and he told me that. When they searched my house, saw what I had, he took his phone out and started showing me pictures of houses, a whole block of houses on the same block. They were grow houses. They were all in and out together. No, he wouldn't tell me where it was at. He wouldn't tell me where it was at. And then he said, this is what we're looking for. We're not looking for guys like you. And I said, I know you're not. I'm doing this for me, not for anyone else. And he said, no, we're not. He said, let me take these plants out of here. And they put them in brown bags. And he said, before DSS comes, because DSS is coming to talk to you.
So he was giving you a heads up.
Yep. And he said, and you know what? They're assholes. So let's get these out of here. And when they came in, they sat with me while DSS was questioning me. And they answered some questions for DSS because DSS said to me, well, your daughter says that she's hungry and there's no food in the house. One of the cops said, have you opened his fridge and his cupboards? There's food. There's plenty of food in there.
So it's just your daughter was just being a kid.
Groomed by a third grade teacher as asking her questions and being a kid and just answer. No, there's never any food. You know.
Well, but your daughter's just a kind of complaining mood.
Exactly. It's not. It was.
She's
But
venting.
this teacher was searching.
Yeah.
This teacher was searching.
She was
And
also,
I'm sure
she was also poking and prodding. In the business.
Exactly. But when the DEA came, they were the coolest. And I told them, I said, and my wife wouldn't have been that. My wife,
DES, you mean?
DEA.
The DEA.
Because they were those two guys were DEA. When they took their chains out, they said DEA.
Ooh.
And they were the coolest guys. And they even told me, DSS is going to do this, and this. And they stuck up when we waited there till DSS left.
That's
and
nice.
then they left.
Well, it's just like there are bigger problems to have.
That's when DSS came the second time, because then their head DSS came in later that night with a police officer escort because they're going into a house at night and blah, blah, blah. Well, when she came that night, she said to me, dude, you see my house. It's clean, dude. My house is spotless,
clean.
man.
It's always clean.
And she said...
And you've got really good care put into a fish tank almost all the time.
Yeah. She said to me, this isn't... We're not here to get you. She said, but have you thought about moving to a legal state? And I told her, I said, you know what? I have, but I don't have the money to just get up and move my kids.
It'd be great to move to Colorado.
I told her that, and I said, I've lived in Colorado. I lived in California. I was in both those states before it was legal, and unfortunately, now that it's legal, I'm gone.
Yeah.
And she said, yeah, because we've been in homes. This is you obviously don't have the problem that we've been around, because we go into homes that it's a shamble and they're opiates. Mm-hmm. They're pills. They got pill problems or methamphetamine problems.
Or worse.
Exactly. And she said, you guys, you don't seem like even... I said, and then DEA said to me, why don't I just buy it?
Buy what?
Weed.
Well, it's illegal to buy it.
And I said to him, I told him, you know what, I'd rather grow mine than buy it from somebody, because I don't know what they use to make that.
Yeah.
To even feed it.
It's really inconsistent, too. It's so inconsistent. And you don't know what you're getting at any given point. Right. Because, also you're at the whim of a dealer. And the dealers are always acting like they've got
all they want is for money.
Yeah.
That's all they want is get rid of it and get some money for it.
Yeah.
But, you know what, the DEA was nice enough, and I'm sure that they've been called again, because I got neighbors now, new neighbors that are nosy, and I had a plant outside, and they were pointing at it laughing. So I have a feeling they may have been called, but they went around the front of the house driving to get the address of the house. Uh-huh. So I don't know, but even if they come again, they're not gonna. I know they're not. And my wife gets nervous. Oh, you can't. I look at her and say, I'm not scared. I'm not doing anything wrong. As far as I'm concerned, I'm not selling it, so I'm not making money off it. I'm not. I gotta pay for my electric bills, and I gotta pay for all the nutrients and the food and the seeds that I get. Mm-hmm. And I told them, I said, I get my seeds usually from Europe. They're sent right to the mail to me. They just laughed. They said, we know where people are getting their seeds.
Well, that's technically not illegal, I don't think, right?
Well, it is, but if you look at the packs when you buy your seeds, it says for souvenir purposes.
Okay, whatever.
Yeah, they got to put some kind of disclaimer on it. Mm-hmm. I get my Delta 8 online or through the mail from California.
So let's talk about Delta 8. Okay, Charmaine, you want to chime in on this? Do you know anything about Delta 8?
Just that it's different.
THC.
So it's another component of the cannabinoid.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So like
THC 9, Delta 9 is regular.
Delta 9 is regular. Mm-hmm. There's Delta 8 and there's Delta 10.
Yep.
Right?
And now they got a THCO.
Yeah, the THCO.
which I just picked up recently, but you know what? I don't know if it's real or not, because they say it's 300 times stronger than regular Delta 9.
Good.
And it's not.
I've got some Delta 8 here if you want some.
Oh, I've got some at home. I got Delta 8.
I'm just saying, like, if you wanted to partake while we're here.
Now, you know why I don't like using Delta 8? because it makes me cough. Delta 8 is a coughing. In the THCO, it's the smoothest. Oh my God!
Really?
Even smoother than using flour, just whole flour. It's so, but it doesn't. I don't feel any effect from it.
Well, like,
And they say it's 300. Some places will say 300 times stronger than Delta 9. Some will say 3 times stronger. And they say that it's like doing LSD or mushrooms.
Delta 8 is a cannabis compound that has become popular because of its similarity to Delta 9 THC. The main compound is cannabis that gets you high, causing euphoria, happiness, sedation, symptom relief, that's for you, and much more. Large amounts of THC are found in a majority of cannabis strains. Okay, well, that's a lot of stuff I already knew, but our guests don't, right?
Right. Delta 9 is a harsh.
Well, 8 and 9 then, yeah.
9 is regular. You're smoking flower. You're smoking.
Okay.
It comes straight from the
Yeah.
flower. It's from cannabis, not hemp. You can get it from hemp, but it's very low levels. Even Delta 8 is manufactured more than it is natural.
My wife makes this argument, and I'd love to get you guys' input. She makes this argument that smoking CBD is worse than smoking cigarettes. She says smoking cigarettes does not hurt your throat the way CBD hurts your throat, and CBD is going to give you a certain. She has a disease that she riffs off her mouth because she's a doctor, and I'm like, I don't know what that means, but it sounds bad. But she says that because she's also biased because she is a smoker, but she's like, smoking cigarettes is not as bad as smoking that shit that you call CBD. And I know a lot of people who get offended by that statement. And a lot of people.
Dude, I tried CBD years when it first came out.
Yeah.
You knew that, and
you hated it.
It didn't do. It doesn't help. Doesn't help for MS. Doesn't help.
It's a really.
Or maybe
great,
I smoke too much cannabis and it just doesn't.
It's a really great placebo if you're trying to quit smoking weed. Like, if you're trying to quit smoking weed.
Are you gonna smoke CBD hemp? You're talking not just CBD's.
Yeah. So
shatter.
like CBD.
All right.
Right. This is Trinity Farms Hemp Company.
See, I get it in liquid. I get it in oils.
Yeah.
I've tried it.
Trinity Farms Hemp Company in Black Mountain, probably the best CBD in Buncombe County if you're going to smoke it. They also have Delta 8, and really great. So, if you're going to do it, just go down there and get some. But,
It doesn't help with MS. I'm telling you, it not, at least not for me.
But the THC derivative does.
The Delta 8?
The Delta 8 or 9
and does. Even Delta 10, because I got cartridges Delta 8 and 10
I'm
mix.
not a fan of Delta 8 because
I'm
of
not
how
either,
harsh it is.
and that's why I'm not. Because when I and it does get you, it does get you high. I'm not gonna lie. I feel a high, but it's not a paranoid high.
No.
It's not a
you don't get behind your body.
Yeah, no, you don't want to sleep. It's an active I can do something high, but it's just harsh.
So it's a sativa.
Yeah, but it's harsh. Yeah. It even flavor. I bought in $40 1 gram cartridges of Delta 8, and it's still, no matter what, it's harsh.
Part of my problem when you dive deeper into the indicas is the paranoia, is you get out of your gourd kind of. Where you're not even really in your body anymore. You're kind of having an out-of-body experience, a euphoric or non-euphoric dystopian experience. Sometimes happens to me, and I find myself
certain cannabis is
and
that,
and I find myself in an unpleasant space, and I don't want to be there. And so everyone who is on a spectrum and they decide they wish to smoke weed, they find their space on the spectrum. Some people love that. Some people do really well, and they don't have all the dysphoric things.
You're right.
And so they like the indicas. But I find myself really more down towards the Delta 8, I guess maybe even the CBD,
Sativas.
the CBDO, probably THCO.
But you know what? You don't feel... what I felt like, if you're microdosing with mushrooms, or even if you're not... when you take mushrooms, a lot of times you get the yawns. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden you start yawning.
Because it's opening up your breathways.
THCO does it.
Really?
THCO makes you start yawning. And you think, man, I'm going to start feeling like I'm on mushrooms.
You're relaxing your body.
It does. That's what but it doesn't make you feel like cannabis or Delta 8, Delta 10. It really doesn't. And they describe it as 3 times, some people even 300 times, and on the LSD and the mushroom spectrum of hallucinogenic. They've said it. They've actually hallucinated that hard on THCO. Really? And I've tried. I've got tinctures at home in my safe. I'll show you when we go to the house. And I got a cart. I'll let you try the cart because it doesn't get you like Delta 8 or 10. You don't cough at all.
Hey, Charmaine, can you look up THCO? I don't know if you already did or not, but
they even got THCV. It's Binoid is a company. Binoid is the manufacturers in California.
This is really complicated for non-smokers who are watching.
THCO is.
So THCO is a new cutting-edge cannabinoid derived from hemp, just like Delta 8.
It's not derived from hemp. It's completely manufactured. They just have to say that.
Oh, really?
It is manufactured.
Which carries psychoactive effects and euphoric feelings associated with the typical properties associated with cannabis use. It is rumored that THCO is roughly 3 times more. What was that last part?
More potent than Delta. More potent than Delta 9.
I'm a slow reader, Sean. Yeah, it's okay.
But you know what? I've never, and I've done a whole dropper, and they tell you, do half a dropper though when you maybe my.
So you're doing these all tincture based. You're not smoking.
Oh, I have also got THCO in a cartridge in a.
But also that's still tincture based. That's not a flower based.
Oh no, it's not coming from a whole flower.
Okay.
And I know the THCO is manufactured.
You can't get THCO from a flower.
No, you can't. You can't.
THCO acetate.
Yeah, that's what it is. THCO acetate
is what's called a semi-synthetic derivative or analog through a chemical process using a very toxic chemical called acidic anhydride.
Yeah, it's a type of acetate.
I can't read that. You can turn some of the Delta 9 THCs into THCOs. How about that? This is some brainy stuff. This is science, straight up.
Oh, they got THCV. Mm-hmm. They got all different ones now. All different ones.
Charmaine.
But you know what? I've tried. Like I said, I've tried CBDs in all forms, dabs, oils.
I hate dabs.
They don't work. They make you choke.
They hurt.
Yeah, they hurt.
They make my left eye hurt.
I don't like doing dabs.
I feel like I got punched.
I start choking.
I smoke a dab. I feel like I got punched in the face.
Like I tell guys who want to smoke dabs, because I have a friend who's also.
Who are these people?
I have a friend who also who only smokes dabs.
You?
He'll only smoke dabs, and I tell him, I say, dude, I can't. Why am I gonna smoke something I can't enjoy? I want to be able to enjoy it, feel good, and enjoy it, not choke through it.
Yeah.
I want to be able to sit down, relax, and enjoy it. Not.
I want to look like that refined grandfather with the pipe in his hand, reading Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, they make cartridges and pipes like that.
And I want the smell to aeromate the room, and everyone be happy that I'm there.
Cherry pipe smell.
Yeah, I don't want to sit in the corner with my dreadlocks and go.
Yeah, my eyes watering and sweating.
You know, what are the grandchildren gonna think?
Because I do dabs and I'll sit there and sweat. I'll go, oh man, why is this happening?
Yeah, it's the worst.
It's not fun anymore.
Sure,
not dabs.
What can you put into this conversation? I feel like you have experience here.
Experience with what?
I'm not going to say. I just feel like you're very intelligent and you have a scientific mind. Like, from what we're talking about here, like, where is the cannabis industry going? What are we seeing coming in the future?
I think it's going to be legal here, in Cherokee land here in North Carolina.
Cherokee land?
The Cherokee Reservation
Already
legalized cannabis.
Oh, they did?
Yep.
So we can just go gamble and smoke?
I don't think you have to be Cherokee, I think.
I think so.
And they have to have medical reasons, a good medical note. And you probably have to go see a Cherokee doctor to get that note.
More power to them.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
yeah, they're the smarter ones in the state.
If they know how to...
And unfortunately, they're on reservations.
Well, I mean, at least they know how to, take care of their own. Seems harder for us to do that.
Yep. They did legalize it here. It's moving in the right direction, just in a slow.
Can we talk about the double standards of the industry?
Oh,
Go ahead.
So, the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians on August 5th legalized the cultivation and sale of
Yeah.
medical marijuana on the western North Carolina line.
Yep.
Tribal members and non-members will be able to buy marijuana from planned dispensaries on tribal land. known as the
Yeah.
Koala Boundary Tribal Leaders.
When does this start?
This started August 5th.
So we could go down Cherokee right now, find a dispensary, buy it, and then
You gotta get a card first.
you gotta get a card.
Go get a card, and then
But if you get, do you have to get a card? Is it a medical card? Or
You
is
have
it-
to have
medical
medical
marijuana,
reasons.
so
It says
I
medical
assume it's
reasons.
medical.
But medical reasons, man,
Yeah.
in these legal states now, you can have anxiety and get a medical reason.
Well, it's going
But
to
in
cause more
Florida,
anxiety for me.
Me too, some certain strains.
Yeah.
But in Florida, it's funny because my friend who lives here now, he left here, went to Florida. In Florida, where it's legal, you have to have a medical card. But the doctor prescribes how many grams a month you can get. So you're only allowed so much a month. I mean, his was, he showed me his card and the amount that he's allowed. He says, I'll never be able to spend that much money to get it. But his son also has a card, and it's a tiny amount, but he's allowed to get it.
So what do you think it is? Like an eighth? Like maybe?
Oh, no, it's
Smaller.
a lot of grams. No, it's
so it's
50, 40, 120 grams.
120 grams.
Oh, yeah, his card was like 1,100.
Well, what's
But see,
an
even
eighth is
even
what, 5.5
but you
grams?
can go when you go to the dispensaries.
What are you gonna do with 100 grams?
A gram cartridge is a gram right there.
But that's going to last you at least 2 weeks, and that's if you're really hitting it.
These guys,
What?
gram cartridge. I know guys here in this state who get them, and it lasts them 3 days, 2 days. Even a gram
Wow.
of THC.
That's a lot.
I know. That's what I said, but
I mean, that's perpetually stoned.
always smoking like a cigarette.
I just can't.
It's always smoking. Me neither. I did it for a while. I lived on a Volkswagen bus
Okay.
with a buddy of mine. He was a runaway. He was 17. He was a runaway from New Mexico, but he came to Colorado and was working in a place I was working with. And he said he had a 1970 Volkswagen bus, and he said, "Dude, you want to travel with me? I'm just gonna we can make it." And we traveled for a few months, living in that bus. Went from Colorado to almost Mexico. Ended up at the border in California, and no money. We had $5 to our name for 3 months. We went to Mesa, Arizona,
So it was
to
the
Arizona
80s.
Arizona State University,
This would never happen today.
and we stayed at the dorms with some of the college students. They let us shower there. We got to stay with them and party with them, and,
Yeah.
and if we didn't have, like, when we were really driving around, didn't know people, we'd find in trees. You can find a tree, an avocado tree, get avocados, and we'd eat avocados. We survived with nothing. What made me stop going was I ended up going to a family friend's house with him. It was his family's friend. I didn't know who it was, and we were gonna wash our clothes there, and this friend of his mom's grabbed our clothes and was washing our clothes. Found an insulin needle in my clothes and thought I was using needles.
You're a diabetic.
And I'm a diabetic, and we tried to explain it to her and blah blah blah, but it didn't go very good. You know, we're a couple of stoners, a couple of hippies living in a bus, and you find a needle, a hypodermic needle, you're gonna think right away these guys are using drugs. And I explained it to her, and he explained it, and
but
you
they
know,
basically
but
said,
we left anyways. We said, you know what, it's uncomfortable now. Now you still don't know what they're thinking.
yeah.
So we left. It was all right with me. And what happened finally was I had $5.30 on me because I kept my $5. Man, I just said I gotta have at least $5.
Yeah.
And I told him I'm done. I said I don't want to travel anymore, dude. We need to go back because I was living in Colorado at the time.
Yeah.
And I said, let's just go back to Colorado. And he said, you know what, dude? He said, you got $5? I said, yeah. He said, I can get you a plane ticket. My mom's a stewardess for, I forgot what airlines, Delta or some airlines.
He wanted
And
to
he
keep
said,
going.
I can get you, yeah. He says, I can get you a plane ticket and drop you off at the Phoenix airport for $5, but you got to be me. So he gave me his insurance card that had his name on it as Tony. Tony Apodaca was his name. And said, here, man, you're Tony and blah, blah, blah. Well, the plane landed in Denver, and I had 30 cents. I called up my old boss from the airport who lived in Colorado Springs, and I said, I'm at the airport. Can you pick me up? I need a place to stay and a job. And she said, yeah, you can come stay with me. I'll give you your job back.
You barely got to another rope there, didn't you?
Yeah, dude.
Swinging
Yep.
from one rope to the next,
Yep.
and you just got the end of the bottom of it.
Yep.
That's really great.
Yep.
Well,
And I got to travel, man. We got to live in a bus. It wasn't the best thing in the world, but I got tired of smoking so much. It was joint. All we did was drive around, smoke a
You
joint,
know what it
go here,
reminds me
go
of?
there.
Did you ever read that Ram Dass book? It's over there, somewhere, sitting there.
I see Dune.
No, it's behind Dune. I believe it's behind Dune. It's
Yeah,
purple.
dude.
It's a purple
For a
book.
long time, Josh, when I
Timothy Leary.
Timothy Leary.
Yeah, I got a bunch of psychedelic books. It's okay, whatever. Don't worry about it. Anyways, but there was a Ram. I'll tell you, there was a story in that book with Ram Dass, and they were traveling around India. Same story, and he got to the 40th day of this trip, and they had been smoking really heavy weed the whole time because they're.
You get tired, man.
And he just got tired of doing it. And he was
You don't think you're going anywhere.
yeah.
That's what I started thinking. Then we're not accomplishing anything in life.
Yeah.
And we weren't. We were sleeping in the back of a bus.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it.
There's a poem called like 2200 Days, and in that poem, I can't recite it, but in that poem, he talks about how you have 2200 days to figure out your life, and the work will still be there. If you decide right now to go and leave, and just go, don't like you just did, you can do it for 2200 days, and at the end of the 2200 days, the work will still be waiting for you. The obligations, the responsibilities will all still be there, but it'll just be 2,200 days later.
Yep.
And so the point was either you can go, and that's fine, but
When you come back, you still got to accomplish all this.
it's going to be there. And I think as Jordan Peterson had a famous quote, he was like, delayed conflict is magnified. So any conflicts that you're putting off, when you go and you disappear from all of that stuff, when you come back, they're
still there.
but they're magnified.
Yeah.
So any relationships you put off, anything like that, it's all times 10.
You know, when I left California, I didn't tell anybody I was leaving. Not even my friends,
Really?
my best friends, because I knew that I had to get out of there because I had a drug problem too.
Well, you had,
You know.
I mean, you wouldn't want to tell them.
Oh,
'cause
they knew. They all knew.
Yeah.
They all knew, but I didn't want to tell them where I was going. I was running away, not for myself. I was running away from the drug that would have been there. It was there anyways, too. Because even when I got to Colorado and I had been clean and sober 6 months, I was bartending a brand new blues club bar, and I was a head bartender. Just went to bartending school to get
There it shows
get
up
into
again.
bartending, and there it was. There it was.
Waiting on you.
And I thought, because that's the way I am, and now I know that's the way I am. Oh, I can do that. Dude, I challenge myself in everything I've ever done, and even if I completed it, I wouldn't say anything new. And okay, I did it. I can say I've done that now, and I can talk to somebody about it and say, this is my experience with it, not just pretend or, oh, here's what I think this is. No, I know because I experienced it.
You experienced the pain of breaking the addiction cycle.
And a lot, yeah, dude, yeah. And it's not when I did leave Colorado, I left because I was addicted again, and I knew I was dying. Mm-hmm. I knew I'm gonna die. I even had guys hold guns to my head, telling me I was DEA, and I was like, dude, I'm here with you partying, and all of a sudden I'm the DEA.
Yeah.
They locked me in a room till the sun came up the next day because they said I was DEA, and I thought I was gonna die. And the only thing that went through my head was, man, my dad was right. I'm gonna end up dead because of the drugs.
It might not be from drugs.
Exactly. I'm still gonna end up dead.
Because of the people that are associated with them.
Yeah.
The hard drugs.
And I thought, all right. In the morning, the sun came up in the morning, and he opens the door and he says, "Hey, you want to go to breakfast?" And I'm like, dude, nah, I'm not going anywhere with you. I'm going home.
Yeah.
And I went home to my girlfriend, because I had a girlfriend at the time, and she didn't do those drugs. She knew I had a problem. And I told her I'm leaving. And 2 days later, I packed all my stuff, got in my car, drove to El Paso, Texas. My brother just got married, and he was buying a house in Florida, driving from California. And
He scooped you.
yeah, we met. I told him I'm in a hotel room in Texas, El Paso. You coming through here? Here's the hotel room. My brother showed up at like 4 in the morning, 3 in the morning, knocking on the hotel. We got in the car, went straight to Florida. Straight to Florida. And then I lived in Fort Lauderdale for. My brother bought a house there. I lived with him for a month, and I got roommates managing for Walgreens. And I lived in Fort Lauderdale for probably 6 months. Met a girl, and she moved to Atlanta and was opening the business in Atlanta and wanted me to help her open a business during the Olympics. And
Was this Tracy?
no,
No, different girl.
no, it was a different girl. And I knew when I saw the books, you're not gonna make it. And she used a lot of cannabis too. And she called me. I started working for the shoe store. And she called me one day at the shoe store, and she was in jail. And I said, "What did you do that you're in jail?" And she said, "I got caught with a joint in my ashtray." And I said, "Well, you won't go to jail for that." And she said, "Well, when I was going through, because it was a sobriety checkpoint, and you got to drive through," she said he smelt it and asked me when the last time I smoked a joint was, and I told him I just smoked it. And I said, "That's why you're going to jail. You just admitted driving high."
Well, especially in 96.
And
95.
And she went to jail. And after that, I don't think we talked ever again. I told her, I can't bail you out. I said, "I'm not getting involved with that." I told her, "I'm not getting involved with that. I'm sorry." And we didn't talk again. She called me, actually, when I was in Florida living with Tracy. We weren't married. We were dating. We were living together. She had a friend call me, found me in Florida. 'Cause she was originally from Florida, too.
It's amazing how people found each other back then.
Her friend calls me,
It's
and
impossible.
I told her friend, I said, "Why does Amy want to know what I'm doing? I'm getting married," because I already had proposed to my wife, and I said, "I'm getting married and I'm having a kid."
Yeah.
Never heard from her again.
Yeah.
Never heard from her again.
Wow.
But yeah, that. I mean, when I was in Atlanta too, and I was dating my wife at the time, I used cannabis. And one day, her roommate, I wanted to get some cannabis, and her roommate said, "Oh, I know where we can go. I'll drive you." So he drove. It was another guy. He drove to this house, and I walked in. And the minute I walked into that house, I smelled methamphetamine. I knew they
Well,
were cooking meth.
You're a user or postpartum user, I guess.
And I looked at the guy I was with who drove me there, and I said, "Dude, I smell meth." And all of a sudden, I hear in another room a guy scream, "Oh, you smell that, man?" And I said, "Yeah, I smell it." He goes, "Oh, it's that good. Check it out." And he brings a baggie to me, and he says, "Here, you can have it, man. Try it."
No.
And I looked at him, and I said, "Dude," I said, "I've been through that hell." And I said, "And if you're using, I feel sorry for you, dude." I said, "You're going to go through hell." And I looked at the guy who was with me, and I said, "Let's get out of here." And we left. And then when we left, that guy looked at me and said, "Dude, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you." And then he went and told Tracy, my wife, says, "You know what this guy did? He told the guy, he knew when he walked in, he smelt it. He knew right away what was going on." And he told the guys, "No."
That's so hard to do, man. Imagine what would have happened had you had a different, instinct there.
I have in the past. That's why I've fallen off the wagon. But you know what, dude? I knew the misery that I had gone through for so damn long, and I just knew I don't want to ever do that again. And that's probably why I hate opiates and pills, because I also had friends and saw friends who were addicted to that.
Would you say that smell is one of the worst smells that you've ever had in your life, in your nose? Like, what's the worst smell that you can think of in your brain, like in your life?
The one that gives me the more gagging has got to be cocaine.
Really? Yeah. I see. I don't even know what that would smell like. I mean, I guess
It's not even with the smell. It's just crystal meth is a drug that'll keep you going for hours, days, if it's that good. Cocaine is 15 minutes later, you want another more. So it's that smell constant. And then,
Because you're constantly putting it in your nose.
and
Yeah.
it's it just gives me the creeps now, man. Just not. And meth, the smell of meth is more you can smell it.
Well, what's
You
funny is
smell
like
chemical.
the chemicals we put in our bodies, whether it be food or marijuana or psilocybin or cocaine, they change our path trajectories. Like, so
Oh, yeah.
so like if you're on the natch your whole life, like my dad, your trajectory is this finite arc, and he's kind of like the scientific test. He's that proof, right? But then, like, there are other arcs, like Chad Stutzman's arc, my friend Chad who died. Chad's arc, he was on ecstasy for 15 years and then heroin. So his arc was like, but this is just the arc of, like, the height, but then his crash, right? If you look at it on a graph. Now, I'm not saying that his arc was, greater than my father's in any way as far as his success line wasn't that. But just like, I don't know, the levels of energy, I think, maybe. Chad had way more energy than my dad might have, especially later in life, in his young youth. And Chad had money. And so he was able to do things that, like, normal kids just couldn't do. Like, they were traveling all over the world and stuff. And so he saw things and did things. And so his arc was, like, really high and fast, and he burned out quick. And then by 37, he's dead. Where my dad's arc was 63, and his drug of choice was Hardee's, and so he overate and he died at 63. But, like, what's the drug combination or life combination that's going to get us to 91? What is that? Is that half luck? Is there some chemical formula that helps us live to that longevity moment?
No.
What is it? How do we get there without, breaking ourselves first? Because, Dad was sober, but at 63 he died because he could not eat as much. He overate, and he had hip issues, and he couldn't exercise, and so he just was heavier, and his heart gave out. That's no... food
But
is
see,
a drug.
even as a healthy person, man, I think that what's going to happen is going to happen regardless. My dad didn't drink. He smoked for a long time, but he quit smoking for 20-something years before he died.
Yeah.
He died at 65 of a heart attack. He wasn't overweight. He was about 190 pounds, 180-something pounds, like me, my size, 6 feet. And he was at work. And he always said that. My wife, he has heard him say, "Oh, I'm going to die at work. I'm going to work till I die." And he was at retirement age, and he was eating lunch, fell back up on the bench while they were all sitting at the bench talking.
And
They thought he was joking,
They thought my dad was joking.
and they thought that he was joking. They heard a snore. They thought he was pretending to be asleep, and that was the last, what they call the rattle, the last rattle of your breath when you take your last breath. And he died of a heart attack.
It sounds a lot like a pulmonary embolism to me, because that's
And,
what my
and they
dad had.
said, when I got to the hospital, he was already dead. But he got to the hospital, he was gone.
Yeah.
He was gone. And
Same
there was a nurse who was eating lunch with him, and she thought he was joking, she said. And then when she started CPR, it already had been 2 or 3 minutes.
It wouldn't have mattered.
No, I don't think so.
How did you handle your father's passing?
Yeah, that was rough on me, man. Because me and my
How
dad,
old were you when he died?
my daughter was probably 4. My son was just born.
Well, at least he got to know
My
him.
son, yeah, he didn't get to know my youngest. He knew she was pregnant because
Nice.
he died a week later. I went to him and told him, and his biggest fear, because there was 3 of us. My brother, I have a younger brother and an older sister. I'm the middle son, and he only thought he was going to have 2, and when he had the 3rd one, he was surprised as hell, and a bunch of shit happened. But when I told him that my wife was pregnant with our 3rd kid, we were living in an apartment. And my dad's biggest concern from ever since I was growing up was me to have my own house. That is your investment, he kept telling me. Not you're giving someone your money, paying rent. You're not investing your money.
I feel the same way.
So that was my dad's biggest thing. And when I told him that my wife's pregnant again, he backed up and looked at me like, "What are you going to do?" And I just looked at him and said, I got to buy a house now.
Yeah.
And he never got to see me do that. He died. Right after he died, like a month later, I came here and bought my house. Right after he died. And yeah, I took it hard because, dude, when I was on drugs and I was going through rehab, my dad was the only one that would come with me to NA meetings. He would drive me to the NA meetings and sit there with me in the NA meetings.
Because he loved you.
And I felt like I had let him down. When on Christmas Eve, we always had a huge family gathering on Christmas at our house, and I had just gotten out of rehab, and I was sitting there, and across the room was my dad, and I see him looking at me, and I just felt like this, like I let my dad down. I felt like, oh. You know, the way he was looking at me was like, because he was laughing, talking, and he looked at me and didn't say anything. You know, just.
He was mad at you, probably.
And I thought, you know what? Fuck this. I remember getting up crying. No one knew except my uncle, my mom's brother, who was only 8 years older than me.
All right.
He came out and he said, what's wrong? And he knew what I was going through. He's the one who was a cameraman for Arsenio Hall of Grip and all that.
Yeah, you told me.
He came out and said, what's going on? And I told him, you know, he saw I was crying. And he said, you know what, man? Just get your stuff and leave. Don't say anything to anyone. Pack your stuff up and leave. That's what you need to do. And that's what I did.
What?
I did. I didn't even tell them. Not even my friends.
Christmas night?
It wasn't Christmas night I left. It was in January when I finally left. It was Christmas night when I felt that way, when I thought, you know, I let him down. And in January, I got a U-Haul, put my bed, because I had a bed, mattress, and a few, you know, maybe a suitcase of clothes. Got a little U-Haul, threw it all in the back of a U-Haul, and drove to Colorado. Ended up in Colorado. I wasn't even driving to Colorado. I was just driving, finding a place. Ended up in Colorado Springs.
What year? This was
19...
post-military?
After military.
Yeah. So
After military.
But before Florida.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Way before Florida.
Yeah. It was... Had to be 90-something, because even back then, when I ended up in Colorado, I had a roommate.
He saw you get yourself right, though.
My dad?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I didn't talk to them for years. He didn't know. They didn't know where I was. My brother found me in Colorado and called me, because I was listed, dude. He called me and asked me to be in his wedding. He was getting married. I didn't even know he was getting married. Called me
He
and
found
said,
you in the yellow pages? Or the white pages?
Or the white pages. He called information, he said. He said he got information. 411 you can call. And
this is like 1989, 1990?
1990 something, 91,
Okay.
92.
And so he's like flipping
No,
through
he
the
probably
white
called
pages.
information. You can call information on the phone, give him your name, give him a name, and you know what state they can find you.
Yeah.
And he calls me and he asked me to be in his wedding. And I said, yeah, I'll do it. And I'd fallen off the wagon already. So I was skinny again.
He knew.
Yeah, I got to California. My brother bought me a plane ticket to fly back for his wedding. I show up in California in the tux that my brother rented, and I see my mom and dad, which I hadn't seen in probably 5-6 years. And my mom says to me, this is why I don't get along with my mom. First thing my mom said to me was, "What prison have you been in?" That was the first thing she said to me after not seeing me for so many years.
The prison of broken dreams, Mom. What do you
What
think?
prison have you been in? And I just looked at her and laughed and walked away. And my dad, I could tell, because my dad was like, he didn't want to say anything. He would have said something to my mom, but he wasn't that. He was more like, he's like my brother. He didn't complain, didn't want to argue with anybody about anything.
Or in public, especially.
Yeah. He just wouldn't. He wouldn't.
Yeah.
And that's the first girl. My brother looked at her, because my brother was with me. I was in a tux. Said, what prison have you been in? And I was skinny. I know I looked bad. I know. My godfather, who was my dad's best friend, invited me to his house and told me the story that when my dad found out that I was on drugs, that he came over there crying, thinking that they were going to find me in the gutter, dead, and blah, blah, blah.
50-50 chance, man.
And my godfather told me that, because him and my dad were best friends. So that tells me that he couldn't even talk to my mom, his own wife, about it. He had to go to my godfather and talk to him.
Well, I mean, imagine he's just going to worry her, and like she probably
she's a pain in the ass.
She
so yeah,
probably
I can
wasn't
imagine.
she probably wasn't the one he wanted to talk to about it, because
No.
I mean, she's
she
not going to
wasn't.
say anything helpful.
No, she wasn't. She wasn't.
So,
I felt like I'd let my dad down. When I went back, when I moved to Orlando, as working for the shoe company, I remember calling my dad up and telling my dad I'm getting married, and I was getting married in a week. So I was calling, I'm getting married in a week, and it was a Tuesday. I was good. It was my day off from work. So I said, I'm getting married Tuesday. I just want to let you know. And my wife is having a baby. And he said, all right. And he said that he would come. He would come see me. So when she had the baby, he came with my mom down to Orlando to see me. And I was making him my daughter's godfather.
this was your first?
Yeah. And I told him, and he came to be her godfather to the church. He came to the church to be
Your
her
dad?
godfather. Yeah. And my mom. It wasn't my choice, but
Well, they're together.
exactly. And we didn't have any family.
We
My
chose
wife.
my sister and her husband as our godparents.
I'm my brother's daughter's godfather.
Yeah.
But then he saw that I was managing shoe stores, and he was working, and I got him some work shoes, and
The
I was
nicest
taking care. Yeah, I was
fly
taking
tips.
care of. I was taking care
With
of him.
some wingtips, Dad.
And then he said to me, then he said, why don't you come stay with us in Naples? They had a 5-bedroom house, dude, right on the beach.
And you're in Fort Orlando.
Orlando.
So you're there, and they've got a house there already.
Yeah, in Naples, Florida.
Yeah.
And then he said, why don't you stay with us, save your money for a year, 2 years, and then buy a house. At least you don't have to pay the rent. You can stay at my house and not pay rent.
I like
And
that.
it's a huge house, dude. We didn't see each other.
Yeah.
And my dad came to me after a year. And I knew...
So you agreed to go there?
Yeah, we agreed. My wife agreed. She got a job working for the Ritz-Carlton in Naples, making, 50, 60 grand a year just doing banquets and for the Ritz-Carlton there. And we saved enough money to get our own apartment because we were saving money to buy a house. But after a year, my dad came to me and said, I'm going to sell this house. Your mom wants to move back to California. And I knew that was bullshit. I
What was
knew
really
it
going
was
on?
bullshit.
What was really going on?
My sister was going to come stay with him, and only for the summer because she's a teacher. And they wanted her to have that part of the house with her 2 kids.
Okay.
And it was my mom's idea. My mom told my dad to tell me that.
So
And I looked at my dad when he told me because he had me and my wife at the dinner table. He called us for a meeting, and it was just 3 of us talking. And I looked at him and I said, you know what? Don't bullshit me. I know Mom just wants us to go, and we'll go. But don't make it look like it's you because she's making you look like the bad guy.
Well, when you don't sell the house,
Exactly. And I knew they weren't. I told him that. You're not going to sell this house. Bullshit.
he's too invested in
Yeah,
his
exactly. And
Well,
he did.
you
He
told
did
me in the car he bought it for what?
$250.
But then eventually,
$900,000.
how many years later did he sell it for $900,000?
Probably 15, maybe 20, between 15 and 20 years.
Yeah, and this was how long after he said he was going to sell the house did he actually sell the house?
Oh, he died.
He died before he sold the
Yeah,
house.
he wasn't going to sell. Oh, but he said he was going to sell it 5 years before he died and sold it.
Yeah.
But he didn't sell it. My mom sold it.
Yeah, but way after. that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, and I just used to. I'd invite him over to my house for dinner, and he would come. My mom wouldn't come.
Yeah.
My mom wouldn't come. He would come. He would come, and he was fine. You know, the day that I felt, I'm okay with my dad was one day he picked me up at work. I was managing for Walgreens, and one of the district managers, as I was leaving, says, "All right, Big Al, I'll see you later." And my dad starts laughing, and he goes, "What did he just call you?"
Big
And I said,
Alfonso.
Big Al. And my dad looks at me and goes, "You know what? That's my nickname at work." And he started laughing. He gave me that shit-eating grin that makes you think, okay, he's proud. He's not.
Yeah.
He's no longer pissed off, or he knows I'm okay, that I'll
Yeah.
be okay. And that's when I said, okay, he knows I'll be okay.
Yeah.
And I told my wife, I got home that day, and after he dropped me off, I said, "Oh, I'm happy with my dad." And when he died, I told my wife that, and I told my mom that, and I don't think she liked it. I said, you know what? Me and Dad were okay. So I'm not upset that, I'm upset he died, but I don't feel like I let him down, or that we weren't okay. That I felt like, okay, he was okay with me.
Let me ask you a question that correlates to your middle child, whom is a son. You were the middle child, and you went through a lot of trials. As a middle child, you found yourself addicted to drugs. You found yourself, a vagabond, if you will. Okay, you were all over the place. Kind of, you had 30 cents in your pocket when you landed in Denver, and somehow you got yourself hooked back in with a job, and that's just fate will do things. But
it was Arby's though; it wasn't a great job.
Hey, but you could have been homeless, and you could have not had a job. And being homeless in Colorado, it's not easy. It's cold.
No, yeah, but there's
Right.
places there.
Right. So you may have migrated had that happen, but it didn't. Now your son is coming of age. I believe he's rolling into his second or his 20s now.
No, he's gonna be 18.
But he's soon
About
enough.
to, yeah.
He's going to be rolling into we'll call it his third decade, but his second decade as like a knowledgeable human, And so as he rolls into his 20s and he starts making decisions for himself, what are your fears for him? And how will you help him navigate those obstacles that that he's going to face as, a spitting image of you?
I don't know, man. I don't have any fears because of, I did things my way and did it. If he wants to do it his way, he'll learn. You'll learn.
What are you going to do if you see him going down the methamphetamine track?
Oh, dude. No.
What happens if he?
I know it's something that even he has to deal with, dude. I could tell him it's wrong. People could have told me how bad it was, and I still thought I could beat it.
Better question. How would you have best handled yourself if you were your own father handling you? Like when your dad got mad and you had that time at Christmas, how would you have been differently to your son in that situation?
I don't think I would have, man, because even my dad even went to NA with me, and I knew
he really tried.
Yeah, and I knew it bothered him, and he never hounded me about it or never made me feel bad.
But he did though that night.
Yeah, but he never said it. He didn't do it on purpose. It was just his own emotions.
But it was more like you felt guilty,
right?
And his acknowledgement of your mistake and his lacking or unwillingness to approach you about it made you feel even worse in a way. Right?
Yeah. But I think he handled it right though, man. Compared to my mom,
yeah,
I think he handled it right. I would never, and you know what's funny? Because my wife says, "Oh, you're just like your mom." We get in fights, and I tell her, "You're just saying that because I can't stand my mom." So you're just saying that to really try to. I don't think I'm like my mom. I might be.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I don't, because if I was like her, I think we would probably get along. I'm not. I don't. No, dude. My dad would acknowledge. If you got a problem, I feel like I could have gone to my dad more than I could have to my mom. My mom, when I was in high school, she found I had I used to have those little knapsacks, those little fanny packs
in the 80s. Yeah, that was a thing.
I had my fanny pack, and it was high school times, and every Christmas vacation in high school, me and my buddies, because it was 2 weeks off, we would rent a year in advance. We would get a place up in the mountains, up in Big Bear Mountain, for a week. The day after Christmas, we'd spend a week.
Hour drive.
Yeah, 45 minutes, hour drive.
Best snow ever, too.
Yeah, we would go for a week.
Yeah.
And we would rent a place. Well, I was always in charge of bringing the pot or whatever the goods that time were. They were in charge of bringing alcohol.
You were in charge of bringing the fanny pack.
Yeah. Well, that fanny pack, the Christmas Day, I had a girlfriend that I dated for 5 years from high school. We were engaged. Yeah. My wife knew all about it. And we'd go to the movie on Christmas Day. We went to a movie that Christmas. And I left my fanny pack on my bed in my mom's house.
She snooped through it.
Yeah. Well, and we had pagers back then. All of a sudden, I'm in the movie watching, and I get a page with my mom,
You
with
got,
our home
you got
phone
hit
number,
on your pager?
with the 911.
Oh, no.
And I looked at my girlfriend and I said, "Oh my God, my mom's calling me 911." And I sat there and I said, "Oh my God,
I left my fanny pack on
I
the
left
bed.
that shit." And I thought, "Oh my God." So I went to a payphone, called up my mom, and she starts going off. "I found your bag. I found your drugs. You need to get home right now."
Imagine the operator holding that line.
So I went back in the movie theater and I told my girlfriend, I said, "My mom found my bag." And she would go on the trip with us. She didn't do drugs. She drank. And she would go on the trip with us. And she was coming on the trip that year. And I get home and my mom throws a fanny pack at me. And in that fanny pack, I had an ounce of mushrooms,
Nice.
an ounce of cannabis, purple cannabis.
Ooh.
Back then, you don't even find that. It was from up north.
Yeah.
And I had a quarter ounce of cocaine.
Oh, boy. Boy, you're going to have a party.
And we're gone for a week. Well, my mom throws a fanny pack at me and it's empty. And I said, "Well," she says, "I don't know what was in that other bag." And it was in my mushrooms.
She didn't know what that was.
No, she said, "And I had to ask your brother-in-law what the other bag was, and it was marijuana," he said. And I said, "Yeah." I said, "Can I get the bag that the marijuana was in it? Because that's to keep the smell of marijuana. It's fish food," I told her. "It's to
The
keep
mushrooms?
the smell." Yeah, it's to keep the smell of the marijuana out of the bag, and that's my fish food. Can I get it back? "Oh, I flushed it all." And I thought, "Oh, fuck."
She was lying.
She did. She
did
did. I never got it. Well, when I got to my room, I opened. You know how fanny packs have those two little zippers in the
Yeah.
front? I opened those two up, and there was my cocaine.
Oh, she didn't even know about the cocaine?
And I knew. I said, if she would have found this, and I told my brother, because my brother knew that I partied. If she would have found those, I would have had the cops at my house. I'd have been in prison. I'd have been in jail. She would have called the cops on me. Because marijuana to her was heroin. So if she would have found the cocaine.
Well, I'm surprised she didn't call the cops on you for that.
Yeah. But she called my brother and had my brother come up while she was lecturing me and told my younger brother, "Don't hang out with him. He's a bad influence." And my brother just started laughing and walked out. Yeah, it was. I went through some shit with my mom. More than my dad. My dad, I think, understood more. And if it comes down to my kids, me and my wife are pretty open compared to what.
Oh, yeah.
Even her parents are more open. Her dad,
Well,
dad and mom came one time to my house, and we had to get maintenance guy to come in and look at our what do you call it? Our heater and air system, and I had to move my plants from the room because they were in the same room where all that system was.
Yeah.
And I told her, "Dad, can you help me move some plants?" And he's sitting there carrying these plants with me, and he's looking at him. He says, "What are these?" I said, they're cannabis. And he goes, "Oh, no." And he goes, "I can't be holding these. My fingerprints are all over this." And I was like, no. And then he started questioning me about, "What part of this do you smoke? What he didn't even know what the flower was."
Who was this?
My wife's dad.
Wow.
My wife's dad.
Oh, God.
And she told me that when she was in high school that her mom would find her pipe, one of these little pipes,
Yeah.
in her pockets or something, and her mom would just set it up on the step going to her bedroom.
Well, that's nice of her.
My house, it wouldn't happen that way.
Hey, Charmaine, I want to ask you, what do you keep in your fanny pack?
What do I keep in my fanny pack?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, like my inhaler, my wallet. I keep my keys in there.
All right, cool. I like that. It's so fun because he keeps mushrooms, weed, and cocaine in his.
That was bad. That was way back when.
She keeps her inhaler in you retain her.
No, I don't have a retainer.
Okay. Keep a spare pair of bifocals.
Got glasses in there, yeah.
Yeah.
Chapstick, things of that nature.
Do you wear your fanny pack across the chest,
No.
or do you rock it old school?
I just put it around my waist, yeah. It's a fanny pack. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, whenever I see someone with a fanny pack and it's around their shoulders, I'm like, you're just trying too hard. You just need to wear it.
I usually didn't wear mine though either, dude. I usually just carried it.
Yeah.
I usually just carried mine.
Yeah. I didn't know if you thought.
But we had pagers back then, too.
But you totally have a fanny pack. You don't think fanny packs are for bitches or anything? Okay, I appreciate that.
No, man. Yeah, it holds everything, dude.
I love a fanny pack. I really do. I don't have one right now, though.
And when you're wearing sweats, you ain't got back pockets to put your wallet in.
That's right. That's right.
Well, that's why it's great for girls, right? Because like, I don't have front pockets right
So,
now.
but you're a Latin American, though, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, were you rocking like the white T-shirt
Nah, dude.
and socks
Nah,
and sandals?
dude, I was from L.A. though, dude. I wasn't from Mexico or from Miami.
So, but like Latin Americans are known for wearing sweats everywhere, right?
Yeah,
like,
I guess.
the
I
stereotype-
do wear my sweats everywhere now because.
Well, you don't
but
leave
before,
your house.
Before I used to wear ties all the time.
Yeah, well, that was because you were working all the time.
Yeah.
That's really funny. Okay, well, these have been some fun war stories. What are we at right now, Charmaine? We're at
We are
2
at
hours?
57.
157? Or?
Almost 2 hours, yeah.
Wow, okay. So, I have a piece of paper. Hang on. How are we doing over there, Charmaine? Everything's still good?
Yeah, we're good.
Do you need to pee?
No,
Do you need to pee?
no, but
I'm good.
question.
Yeah, go
I'm
ahead.
good.
Check those ones.
Yeah, we're on 2 now. Well, it doesn't
It's
matter.
been, yeah, that's what
It's been off.
It's been off.
I can patch it later.
Okay.
But yeah, so you can see your mic is definitely working though.
Yeah, that's what I feel.
So you're good. Oh, here we go. My daughter decided to roll my questions up into a ball, and so I'm over here getting them back the way I want them to be. What keeps you up at night? Other than spasms in your legs.
I don't know, man. To me, the most important thing right now is that my kids can do it all. They can be on their own. That's what, to me, is important. That they can be on their own, man. I feel like they can't nowadays.
Oh,
Yeah,
you mean because of fear of like...
If something happens to me or to my wife, and they can take care of themselves, they can cook for themselves, they can not you got to make $1 million to be on your own. Just be able to take care of yourself.
Well, what's scary is you kind of have to make a lot of money nowadays to exist because you got to pay for a house that's overpriced. Your educations are overpriced. And so, like, if something does happen to you...
But you know what? Even when if you grew up with nothing, or because I grew up with a lot. I didn't grow up with nothing. But as I got older, at 17, I joined the military so that I could take care of me. And even as a challenge to myself only, it wasn't really even because I wanted to be an Army man. I was going to challenge myself. I made the swim team in high school. Tried out just to make it. Made it. Never played. Never even went back. Just said, okay, I made it. Made the volleyball team in high school. Just wanted to try out. Made it.
Come on, man. Why didn't you play?
Just wanted to try out. I could say, okay, I made it. I don't want to play.
I bet they could have used you.
You know what
You're
I did?
tall.
You know
You're
what I did
tall
do in
and-
high school?
You look like Top
And
Gun
you
when you were in your
wouldn't believe
prime.
this? I used to sing and dance in high school. I was in a singing and dancing group.
You're into that, huh?
No, but the girl that I liked, that was the popular girl, one of the most, she was the pep commissioner of the school, and I always thought she was beautiful. I'd tell my friends, oh, she came to me and said, hey, we need someone to try out for the sing team,
You were
and we want
swooned.
you to do it. And I said, you know what, I'll try out. I tried out, made it, went into basic training. We started dating, me and that girl. Went to basic training that summer after 11th grade, and never got a letter from her. Got one letter from my best friend and from my great aunt the whole time in basic training. And the letter from my best friend was telling me that he saw her at a party with another guy.
Well, what you got?
And I would have thought that. So in 12th grade, when I'm in the class with her, a singing dancing group where we go and have competitions against other high schools, I remember the first day of class, I still had a crew cut. My haircut was, no hair. And I was sitting in class and I was by myself because I didn't really know anybody from that group. I was just doing it to get to know her. She asked me to sit next to her, and I looked at her and said, no, I'm fine where I'm at.
Oh.
And I just sat there, and then for probably the first half of first semester of that school year, I hardly would say anything to her. I started dating a bunch of other. I just started dating people, and she got mad. And I thought, you know what? Maybe I'll ask her out again. And we started dating, and from 12th grade through probably 5 years, even after high school, we lived together. Even when I was in basic advanced training in the Army, we got engaged. Her and I got engaged.
What stopped it from happening?
Drugs.
Oh, you told me that. Yeah.
She found out that she says she had no idea, but I don't know how you could not have an idea that I'm doing methamphetamine.
Yeah.
We're living together and he's not sleeping. You don't know he's in bed sweating. So no, I think she knew.
But she was denying it.
And she cheated on me 3 times.
Well, there you go. Well.
So it wasn't like.
Well, she wasn't happy with you because of the things, and then she was.
It was bad. But her mom bought me my first brand new car, showroom floor, Volkswagen Jetta 16 valve, straight off the showroom.
Her mom bought you that car?
Bought me that car.
Even though your parents were well-to-do?
Yeah. Well, my parents would have never bought me shit. They bought my sister and
when,
brother a car.
What'd they say when you came home with that car?
Nothing. My mom always suspected that me and her mom were having something. Her mom was 60-something years old, a kindergarten teacher.
How'd she afford that?
She just got divorced. She was a drug addict on medications, and I kept telling her daughter, "Your mom is on medications that she shouldn't be taking for that long."
Yeah.
So, but her mom, she had a lot of money.
Well,
she even bought us a trip to Jamaica.
Yeah.
We spent 2 weeks in Jamaica. Me and her daughter.
Wow.
But her mom, I think, just wanted me to be with her. I don't know. But everyone thought that me and her mom had something we didn't.
How are you adapting? Okay, so long story short, you know, a year ago you were 40, maybe 50 pounds lighter than you are now. Wasn't looking good, man. We showed up at the hospital, I don't know, maybe 18 months ago, and we walked in on you crying that night because you didn't know if you were going to make it.
Yeah, there were times
you were really upset because you
that last time I went to the hospital, I thought I was going to die.
You thought you were dying, dude. And here we are rolling into 2022 and you got through COVID.
Yeah, without getting it,
you got through. I mean, we're getting through the second wave of COVID now. Knock on wood, better knock on wood, dude.
And I'm 187 pounds.
And now you're 187 pounds. Like, how are you outside of the weight gain? How are you adapting to life with MS?
Oh, dude, it's still, even after 5 years, I still have trouble accepting it, man. I do.
Your legs
like I told you, and they're not getting better. It's getting worse, and I know that. And I know they've tried. Right now, I'm on the 4th medication to try to stop the progression, and it's a infusion. So I go to the infusion cancer center, and they for 6 hours give me an infusion of medication, and then 6 months later, I got to go back again. Every 6 months, you got to get an infusion. But I'm still, dude. I'm still angry
at the fact that you
that I can't walk and
well, it was
that
going
I
to
can't
happen,
do.
though, right?
Oh yeah, it's happened. It's now I'm to the point, like I told you on the way here, that I feel like I'm a stranger. Or I'm surrounded by strangers, and I know it's not that I'm surrounded by strangers, and it makes it hard for everybody in my house because I told my wife and my kids I feel like I'm surrounded by strangers now. What do I do?
Because they just don't understand your situation.
I don't even think it's them. I think it's me. I am a stranger to me. I can't figure out anymore, or don't know what I want anymore because I can't do those things anymore. I can't do the things I want to do.
You can't go for a run.
I can't eat. No.
You can't do anything that you would do.
No,
before.
and normally you see, I used to do saltwater grow corals. And I can grow corals. I know I can grow corals.
Really beautiful too.
But now I can't do that anymore. And that was how.
Is it just because you can't?
I can't. I have to pick up 5-gallon buckets. I can't stand up holding buckets of water and mixing salt. So
You could technically do like
fresh
2
water.
big
I can
gulps, right?
I can take a hose that suck water out of but to mix water, measure the salinity and all the tests you got to do. I can't do that. I can't do it anymore. And those were my outlets at one time. Those were how I felt. Oh man, this is
It was a hobby that you really enjoyed.
Exactly, and it was my way of expressing. Okay, I could do what I want with it. Now that's even the minor thing, because there's so many things that you have to change now. You have to change, and after 40 something years of doing things and being able to walk, imagine waking up and you can't move or feel your legs. That's how it happened for me. I worked at CVS when it happened with you. I think your wife still worked there when it happened.
Really?
I woke up to go to work that morning, and I looked at my wife and I said, I can't feel or move my legs. And right away she practically picked me up, put my arms around her, and carried me to the car.
How old were you when that happened?
40.
43?
No, it hasn't been 10 years. I was probably 44, 45, maybe 46 even.
I think it happened after we left because you were still with it when we left. We left in 2011.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah, I remember when you left and you guys came back.
Mm-hmm.
And when you came back, I was having some problems, I think.
Well, it was night and day.
Yeah, because
2011 we left. 2012 technically, and you were fine, but I think there was something going on.
I was losing my balance and my
but
legs
you
were
weren't
killing
talking
me.
about it.
No, I wouldn't.
You were being really close to the chest.
I still am. I still am like that.
You're a bit more of an open book, but in 2015 when we got back, because you were my only connection in town, I was like, Carlos, hey man, you still? And you're like, yeah, come on over. And I go over there, and you're in a wheelchair, full on.
Yeah.
Or you were on a walker.
Yeah, I had a walker
Yeah.
or I had Canadian crutches for a little bit.
I think you had a wheelchair, but you were trying to do the.
Yeah. Yep, I was. I remember.
So-
And even the walker. They even tried to keep me on the walker, and I said, no, I can't anymore.
Yeah.
And it's gotten to the point where I can't pick up my legs.
So what's next then? If you're going to still be around, and with modern technology and modern medications, and now the onset of new medications being brought to the market for illegal use in the coming, let's say 6 years. I think 6 years is a safe number. We're going to see a lot of new drugs on the market that didn't exist, 2 years ago at all. And so you may still be around. You could live technically another decade or longer,
Right.
and
I have to be in a wheelchair.
but I would love to see some groundbreaking medication help you reverse MS.
Yeah, that's
That'd be
what I
great.
told my wife. I told her if they can find a way to replace that minor one on your nerves.
What do you think it is that's causing that?
You know what my mom says? What she told my brother, because we don't talk.
Is it demons?
No, my mom says. That it's the drugs. It's all my own fault. And the funny thing about that, Josh, my sister, who's older,
Yeah.
who's a straight A valedictorian of the high school we grew up in, and it was a 2,000 student
She's also
graduation. She's got MS.
Is it as bad
So
as
don't
yours?
no. She found out when she was in her 20s. She just had her second child, and she couldn't feel her left side, and they thought maybe it was the epidural. They ran an MRI, and they found that she had a lesion on her brain.
Well, what advice would you give your sister if she's?
Oh, I don't talk to her. Yeah.
But hold on. Maybe you should.
No,
Time
even my
out.
brother won't.
All right. All right, but I'm a big man for reconnecting. Okay, and that's what this show's about. But for me, it's like this. If there were someone like your sister who was willing to speak with you and who cared for your input and understood your place in the world and the advice you have to give, because in my opinion, you have sage, wise advice to give people. What would you say to someone who's just now been diagnosed with MS? And how would you help them?
For me, is if you're diagnosed young enough, you won't have these problems.
Why?
Because it can get you medications.
So you can actually get preventative or prophylactic treatments early.
to stop it, to slow it down or stop it. Like my sister, she's on the medication that they gave me the first time. It didn't work. I still continued to get lesions. She's been on that medication for years, 20, 30 years.
So
I
you
don't
were
know
just
how long.
late
She
to
was
the punch.
24 and she's older than me.
So had you... So when did she...
Had I found out earlier,
Yeah.
and let me tell you, in Naples, there was a time I got sick one time, and it was MS, where I went blind in one eye every time I got hot, and I was unloading trucks for Walgreens,
Oh.
and every time I was unloading a truck and was sweating
In Florida.
in Florida, my left eye I couldn't see,
Would it go
and,
black?
I was
Would
like,
it go black?
everything would go like a shadow,
Yeah.
and I went home, told my wife, told my mom, and went and had an MRI. The doctors looked at my MRI, showed me my MRI on the screen and said, perfectly healthy brain. And I told this guy, my sister has MS. I want to make sure I don't have MS.
And he missed it.
Perfectly healthy brain. Kept saying, you see your brain? He showed me the pictures and everything. Your brain's healthy. He said, what I think it is an optic neuritis that when you were on because I was on a medication for a little bit, an antibiotic or something too. He said that may have caused a nerve in that eye to swell up and cause you to blind. Every time you get hot, it would swell up and it would go away. All right, so I took that as, okay, that's it.
Solid hypothesis.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And since I'm a type 1 diabetic,
Daughter's running.
they kept saying, and I complained about my legs all the time, because I complained about my legs too, being numb, neuropathy. And they kept saying, no, it's neuropathy from your diabetes.
So the diabetes is masking the MS.
Eggs, and that's what all the doctors, even my neurologist says that.
And so your sister didn't have diabetes.
No.
And so she was able to diagnose herself.
They
early.
knew right away, and
Do
she
you
was in
need-
the hospital.
Do you need something to drink?
No,
Okay.
she was in the hospital, just had the baby.
Yeah.
So they can do it right there on the spot on her, and they did. And for me, when I found out, I woke up and I couldn't walk or move my legs. I remember getting to the hospital and them saying, we're going to do an MRI and a spinal tap. So they did both those, and they brought in the head of neurology for Mission with my doctor, who was my doctor at the time, and she's quit Mission. But she was my doctor.
You really liked her too.
Oh, yeah. She came in with the head of neurology in Mission, and that doctor, it was another lady, told me almost in tears, you may never walk again.
I'm sorry.
So, and I was like, what is, and she said, you have MS, and it's mostly in your cervical spine. So,
Lower?
yep, mostly right
Oh,
here.
really? It's up top.
Your spine, though.
Well,
so.
what I was noticing on the ride over here, I drove him here. I had to pick him up. Is that your arms are really good. You said you can't feel your left hand,
No, I can't feel this hand.
but it looks fine
Yeah, I
No
do
one would
every day,
know.
man. You can see the cuts on it from...
where you can't see.
Yeah,
or
I
feel.
can't feel it when I'm in my wheelchair. If I hit a wall sometimes, like, hands,
Yeah.
knuckles...
But your upper body still seems really high functioning. At what point do you see that actually no longer being the case?
I don't know. I hope never.
Yeah, right.
I hope never. I don't know. I just hope that they can stop the progression, because what I have is progressive primary MS. So as long as they can find a medication to stop the progression, I'll be better off. If not, and it's funny because you hear about these famous actors and actresses who had MS and die, and they always say MS related. Really, if you look up MS, it doesn't cause death. A lot of the issues from MS can cause a death, but not MS itself is not what causes the death. It's the issues that come from MS.
Not being
Just
able to
like
feed yourself.
diabetes. You'll hear diabetic complications killed them. You know what? Diabetes didn't come because you can control diabetes. It was a complications, something else that happened because of the diabetes.
Yeah.
You know, so
Well, we all have to face death at some point in our life, and you seemingly are at a place now where you've really you've contemplated what that means for you. At what point do you face this hurdle we all have to face head on with no fear? And how do you face it in a way with a certain level of zeal and respect for yourself. Because a lot of people, when they realize they might die, they just completely unfold and they collapse on themselves. And you're sitting here holding yourself up with the one arm that you have left, and seemingly you're doing it with pride. Like, how are you holding up? And what do you say to yourself at night when you go to bed and it all starts again?
Man,
Tough question.
yeah. When there's been a few times that it wasn't even health related that I thought I was gonna die.
Yeah.
Twice that I can remember, but when it came to the last time I think you saw me, I had just gotten. Well, I know that the last time that I had, not the last time, it's about a year and a half ago when I had Botox done at the gastro doctor in my stomach, and we were driving home. Tracy was driving. I woke up crying that day when I woke up from my when they put me to sleep. I woke up in the bed crying, and I didn't know why. The first time that's ever happened to me. I couldn't eat. I said, my wife said, all right, let's go. We can go now. It's about a 2.5 hour, 3 hour drive to Winston to Wake Forest. And on the way home, all of a sudden I started vomiting. And this thing he's doing for me is to stop me from vomiting. And once I start, they call it cyclic vomiting, where it's like a cycle.
Cyclical.
Yeah, where it's cycle, and it is for me. You can look 15 minutes later, and I'm throwing up again. Right when I'm done, I can and I used to do it. In 15 minutes, I'll be throwing up.
Until you're out? Or
No, it's just blood. I'll start throwing up blood.
That's not good.
Halfway home, my wife is panicking because I've never felt like that, and I'd never been that coming from Wake Forest after this procedure, and I had done it already 4 or 5 times. First time I'm throwing up, and she says to me, "Do you want me to we need to go to the hospital. We need to take you to Mission."
Turn back around?
No, just straight to Mission because we were halfway home already.
Yeah.
And we hit traffic, and she's panicking because we're in traffic, and I'm throwing up. And I said to her, no. I said, let's just go home. I just need to lay down in bed, go home. We got home. She got me in bed, and all night, till 4 o'clock in the morning, I was throwing up. At 4 o'clock, she got up and said, I'm taking you to the hospital now. I had filled one of those little container trash cans full of blood.
Not good.
She says, we're taking you to the hospital now.
Yeah.
We get to
That
the
could've been your
hospital,
last
and
day.
I told, and that's how I felt. I thought I was dying. I told her I'm going to die. And I said, when we get to the hospital, I'm not going to talk. I don't want to talk to anybody. Mm-hmm. You just let them know what's going on. Well, we get to the hospital, and you meet these young doctors, man, that think they know it all. You could tell them what's wrong and what's happening to you, and you would expect them to know because it's something that happens when you have this condition and you're a diabetic.
But they're young.
When you're a diabetic, no matter what, they teach you this. They got to teach you this. There's no way you can't know this. When you're a diabetic and you're vomiting, your body is going to release sugar so that it keep your energy going. Mm-hmm. And as a diabetic, your pancreas isn't working, so you're not producing insulin to control that sugar. Mm-hmm. So right away, your sugar goes up and it makes you even sicker. All right, so I get to the hospital, and right away the doctor says to me, "Your pump's not working." I'm on an insulin pump now, and they know because I'm wearing it. Your pump's not working. It must be clogged. No, and I was getting mad because I didn't want to talk. I was sick.
Yeah.
And I kept saying, "No, it's not my pump. It's not my pump." And my wife was trying to explain to them, and they don't want to listen. Especially to a woman who's not the one who's sick. They didn't want to listen to her. She'll tell you that. That's the way they are. And another doctor came into the room, and I looked at him because I was dying. I thought I was dying. I said to him, all you need to do is give me an IV. I need fluids, and I need you to give me lorazepam in that IV so I can go to sleep because I need to sleep. If I don't fall asleep, you won't stop me from throwing up. Mm-hmm. And he looked at me and he says, okay, I'll do that. You know better than anybody. And he ran and got me my IV, started my IV, got me lorazepam. Dude, I woke up a day later. Didn't even know what day it was. I woke up in the hospital, and my wife's there. It's already like 10, 11 in the morning. And I said, what day is it? You've been here all night. You've been here a day. already. I couldn't believe it. I thought the first time I really did, I thought I'm going to die. And I'd rather die sleeping. So I said, just give me lorazepam and give me an IV because that's what I need.
Yeah.
That's what I need. Not this, oh, your pump's not working. Oh, it's your diabetes is out of control.
It's always your diabetes.
Dude, I looked at her and says, my sugar is high because I'm throwing up. I've been throwing up all night. That's what happens. That's what your body does when you're sick. It makes sugar to keep you energy.
I separated my shoulder in 2007 snowboarding. This one, it still popped up. And no, so I go to the doctor because I had separated my shoulder. She goes, oh, that's normal. Mine's this way too. And she had bony shoulders. And I was like,
that's easy, man.
I was like, bitch,
doctor,
what are you
Were you
doing?
going to compare? You're here to listen to me. I'm not here
like,
to examine your...
This was nice and rounded. This one is bony and jagged because of my injury, which I got 7 days ago. Like, don't tell me, you know. And so I know what you mean. I really do.
And with my wife, they do it to her. She tells me, they don't want to listen to me. They don't want to listen to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
and then I'll get. That was the only time though I told her I didn't want to talk. I said I don't want to talk to anyone.
Let me ask you a question. You said you feel like you're a stranger to yourself, but are you looking towards any new goals now that you have a bit more freedom and health? Like, is there anything that you want to accomplish?
I'd like to have a huge farm.
A farm.
A big cannabis farm, man. And not for me to smoke all the cannabis in the world, but just to have a nice farm for people to have good medicine, man.
Well, what are your hopes for the cannabis industry as a whole?
Oh, to completely decriminalize marijuana.
Well, more so than that, though. Like, I mean, that's just the first step to me.
Nah,
like,
because even medical states are not decriminalized.
Well,
I think everyone should be allowed to, especially a plant, to grow a plant. And you know what? It's not as easy as throwing a seed in dirt.
No, well, we haven't gotten to that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Charmaine.
I'm going to teach him how to grow.
I want you to break it down. Give us the book for dummies really quick. If someone wants to really get in and learn a green thumb, no pun intended, but you want to learn how to grow your own cannabis, just at your home in the privacy of your own space, what are the fundamental things that someone needs to know?
The light. Don't go cheap on your light, because I've done it. I mean, my friends in high school tell you, oh, he's been doing this since I can remember. And yeah, I did for a long time even then. But for a long time I stopped. And then started when I got sick again. Or even before I got sick, I started because I bought a house and said I can do it in my own home.
This was back before we left for Utah.
Right.
And very good weed.
Yeah.
Like very healthy,
Yeah,
rich.
no chemicals,
No
all
chemicals.
organic. Yeah.
You know, really good. Oh, and these are your seeds from 2011.
I remember that plant because I took that plant to Wisconsin with me.
Blue tie.
Yeah.
I want you to perfect it again.
I can.
I challenge
Because I
you.
grew that plant. I grew that in hydro, though.
Yeah,
I grow in dirt now.
Those are his seeds. I'm going to give them back to him. I'm not going to do anything with them.
I'll plant them.
But okay, so light.
Yeah, don't go cheap. I would use LED lights because it's cheap on electricity, more expensive for the system, but no heat and cheaper on your electric.
What do you think about these lights? No? Can I grow with these?
You're gonna want. I mean, they're
not purple or pink.
No, the ones the good lights will have a control.
Yeah.
You can control your
They
blue,
sell
your
them
white,
at Home
and your
Depot.
yellow.
Have you seen that?
No.
They're selling grow kits at Home Depot now.
Oh, no.
Yeah, they
But
are.
you don't buy it. Don't, because I've done stuff like that.
They're
I
nice.
bought in 4 different lights.
They're like $400 lights.
Oh, that's a good light then. That's a good light. Anything above 400.
$290.
Yeah,
Still.
it's Chinese.
Yeah. So, but do you buy American products?
Yes, I do.
What are they?
My lights, even my tents.
What's your brand of choice for light?
California Lightworks.
California Lightworks, okay.
California
And
Lightworks.
your chemicals, what do you tell me about the chemicals that you
The nutrients I use are all it's called Humboldt Secret,
okay.
and I'm pretty sure it's all organic. I'm
Charmaine, could you look this up? Humboldt Secret?
yeah, Humboldt Secret, Golden Tree.
Golden Tree?
Golden Tree. The main thing with growing though is, all right, when you're in vegetative, you know it's 18 hours of light.
Yeah.
So you set your light for 18 hours. Though, what I learned the hard way, and I think everyone should learn before they even start to grow, because this will save you a lot of money and a lot of headache, is there's a chart you can look up that tells you at what stage the plant feeds on what.
Yeah.
Like nitrogen, and NPK is your nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium levels inside of your nutrient. If you memorize the chart, because I memorized the chart of cannabis growing, in each stage, what it feeds on the most, or what it needs from those nutrients, and they all nutrient lines have all three of those in them, but you can figure out what the plant uses more at different stages. Like in the beginning, you look at your NPKs and you'll see that.
Hold on, what's an NPK?
On your nutrient bottles,
Yeah.
you'll see an NPK and it'll say 20, 21, 24. Nitrogen is the N, the P is phosphorus, and the K is potassium. So those are what's in that bottle, and that's what cannabis really feeds on. Besides micronutrients, calcium, magnesium, silica.
And tell me about the soil, though. Tell me about the soil that you're using.
The soil I use is called ocean forest.
Ocean forest.
Ocean forest, and you can get it in any like this season, any gardening place. They usually sell good soil like that, and I mix it with some peat moss or cocoa husk.
Cocoa husk.
Cocoa husk.
But you said peat moss. Can people use peat
You
moss?
can use peat moss, but peat moss makes your water more acidic.
Okay, so
And
use cocoa husk. Then.
Yeah, cocoa husk, and they make it in.
It's funny. Coconuts are so much better for us on every level.
They even use it for soils, man. You can even grow in pure coconut husks.
You think you could grow psilocybin in coconut husks? Sounds like you could.
No, I haven't tried.
That's
I haven't
not
tried.
your specialty.
No, I haven't tried that yet, man. I keep looking into it though. I do look into it a lot, but I just keep thinking,
It's about the same time.
It's a lot of
It smells-
sterility though. You got to be a sterile environment, and if not, it'll destroy things. They say so.
It smells too. It smells in its own funky toe jam kind of way. You know, especially when they're drying, and you're like, whoa.
With growing cannabis, if you can memorize that chart, the grow chart on it, vegetative states, what it uses.
Is there a
the
place
most,
you can find that?
and yeah, you can. I looked
What
up
would she look
online.
up if she were looking for that grow chart?
You can look up like a chart that'll show you the leaves, if they're missing nutrients, what they're missing in that nutrient. If you see a leaf turning a certain color, I forgot what the chart's called, but those nutrients, the main thing, and people don't know this, dude. There's some people that do, because I'm part of a social media group with a lot of cannabis growers.
Can you tell us what the group's called?
Marijuana growers, Homegrown is one company. It's called Homegrown. It's a website.
But they've got a group too.
That's a group website, and you can also buy seeds through them.
Okay. What do people not know?
That the pH, they know it, but they don't think it's important. And to me, it's the most important thing, dude. When you're feeding your plant, you got to pH that water to what that plant is going to feed what you're feeding it. Because if your pH is off, no matter what you're feeding it, that plant ain't going to absorb it. And at certain stages, you want your pH different. Like in flower, you want a higher pH because that's what the plant needs to absorb the phosphorus and the potassium. So, and that's what makes the flowers bigger and fatter.
Is it that?
Yeah, it's kind of like, yeah, exactly.
And so-
That chart will tell you, but you have to grow to know by looking at your plant, this is wrong. But that chart will tell you what the plants need. As
So-
far as
So if
you
it
can
goes
see
brown,
deficiencies.
it's deficient in iron, right? If it's brown.
Yeah, but that rarely happens. Certain things rarely happen. You can read on the chart; it'll tell you what pH the plant absorbs those nutrients in.
So
And you know what? I never use a chart by looking at my leaves and saying, "Oh," because half those leaves look the same.
Yep.
You look at that chart and you go, "That leaf looks like this," or it looks like so. You don't really know what your deficiency is, but if you're giving it what it needs and all that it needs and all the nutrients, some of them have all of it. And you've seen my nutrient line. I have like 9 bottles. They need all of it. But if you don't have the right pH, you're just wasting your money and you're killing the plant.
Yeah.
Because it will not eat. It will die. It will die from that. And it's all because of your pH. That's all, and that's an easy situation, an easy solve, man. Easy solve. You can buy pH down in a liquid or pH up in a liquid. And for me, for every gallon right now with the stage I'm in, 10 drops is all I need to bring my pH to 6.4. And that's the stage I'm at where my plant is going to absorb all that nutrient and feed on and get the biggest from.
Now, you've been doing some cross-pollinating too, correct?
Yeah.
Tell me about your best cross-pollinations to date and how they
Well, I
came
think
about.
my best one's growing right now, and it wasn't because of me. It was one of my plants I gave to a friend who lives here, and
He did something with it?
he accidentally his plant hermaphrodited, which means a lot of times if you're stressing your plant too much or you're not doing
It
it
changed
right,
gender roles?
it'll have both.
Yeah.
It'll get pollen and flowers.
Yeah.
And I don't know what kind of grower he is. I don't want to talk bad, but his plant, one of his plants, hermied, and I had given him one of my plants.
You just call it Hermide?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I gave him one of my plants, and he had it in the tent with that plant, and that plant pollinated.
So they had sex.
Yeah.
They were like, "What's up?"
It
Oh.
pollinated that plant.
Yeah.
And he told me, and I said, "Well, give me the seeds. I want those seeds." I said, "I don't want the seeds from the female plant that cross-pollinated this plant, because she'll be full of seeds too, and they'll all be female." I said, "I want the seeds from my plant that you cross-pollinated with it, because I know what my plant was like, and I know it was a good plant." And I said, "And I know those seeds will all be female, cross-pollinated with that, not just that plant." You know, because that plant that cross-pollinated my plant also pollinated itself. So there's going to be seeds in that lemon haze. It was a lemon haze. So he's going to get female seeds, lemon haze. But I don't want a seed from a plant that hermied, because that means that tendency is going to be there for that plant to do it. So you got to be careful. Any little stress can cause that. I said, I want the seeds that it pollinated with my plant. And I got one growing right now, and it's beautiful.
Really?
It's beautiful.
Can we see pictures of it, or should we just not? Is that?
Oh, I don't have my iPad. I would have brought it. I had all kinds of pictures.
Yeah.
It's Monkey OG crossed with Super Lemon Haze.
So what would you call that? Monkey OG cross with Super Lemon
We
Haze?
call it Monkey Haze.
Monkey
Everybody
Haze?
says, let's call it Monkey Haze.
I just call it Monkey Lemons.
Or you can call it Monkey Lemons.
I don't know.
But it looks like, and he gave me a bunch of seeds, and I called him. I showed him pictures. I said, "Man, I like those seeds. Those are going to be good seeds. Those are going to be, and it's going to be a good plant." But even when you cross pollinate like that, man, it's just like having sex with somebody when you have a kid. You're going to have some more of the mother in them or more of the father gene in them. So
Yeah.
those plants, when you do that, to stabilize a plant like that, you have to pollinate it several times. It could take 7 years before you get one stable enough that you can name it and say, "This is my strain."
You have this is a tangent, sorry, but you have 3 kids, and at this point, you've seen. I know your oldest looks just like your wife. Okay, I don't know about your son. I can't tell. He seems like he's like you, though. He seems like you. Okay, from the stories I've heard, and then I think the youngest is still in the mix, figuring it out. Right? What makes a baby, which is like supposed to be a blank canvas, become more like you or more like Tracy or anyone who has kids?
Dude, I don't know.
How
That's
does
a
that-
question no one can answer, I don't think.
Well, like I thought maybe you might have seen or gleaned something from the 3 you've had. Like, did they just come out of the gates just like that?
Yeah,
And so, like with your plants, like they're going to come out the gates just like their own version of themselves.
Yep. You're not gonna even if you get a stable seed or a so-called stable strain, you're not gonna ever. I've never, and I've grown a lot. I've never gotten
clone?
Oh, I've gotten clones. Clones are great. Clones are awesome. When you get one plant and you know this is a good plant.
Yeah.
I want this plant and I don't have to get seeds. But when you get a clone, you got to keep that plant in veg for the whole life.
What do you mean in veg?
In 18 hours of light. Because the minute it doesn't get 18 hours of light, it starts to flower.
Mutates.
And once it starts to flower, they die. You know, they only have a lifespan of so long.
So they don't mutate.
They don't.
just
They
flower.
stay in veg and they don't ever grow flowers. But I knew a guy who had one for 5 years. My wife's cousin, he grows and he had one for 5 years. He would take a cutting off of it, get roots, and plant that because he liked that plant. He
And
liked
so, but
that
then,
strain.
so it would stay. It was just a.
It would be the exact
It was
same
like in
plant.
a holding pattern the whole time,
Yeah.
right? And so then he would pull what stems or whatever off, and then they would grow to flower. And then did he ever go? All right, babe, it's your turn. And
Eventually, I've done it. I've done it.
I allow you. To
I did it. I did it in my small tent. I got tired. I was with the Monkey OG. I said, you know what? I got some clones, and that's why my buddy, I gave him one, and he crossed on him. And I liked it. And finally, I said, you know what? I'm going to let her flower now, and it'll be done. Mm-hmm. You know, and after her 9-10 weeks or whatever it is to flower, she's dead.
Yeah, but so like when you allow a plant to flower early, like off the clone,
I've done that, dude.
right? So like, is that flower tasting differently than the one that you allow to marinate for? I mean, as long as
No, because
It's
it's
the same?
going to be the same, as long as it was picked at the same amount. 8 weeks.
Yeah.
You don't wait long, because if you wait longer, you lose different things, and the cannabinoids in the plant will change.
And so 8 weeks is the standard. Once you let them flower,
Yeah, depending on sativa or indica,
Are indicas longer than sativas?
Shorter.
Shorter. Okay.
by about 3 or 4
And
weeks.
What about ruderolus?
They're an 8-week total plant. From veg to flower, it's only 8 weeks.
Really?
Because it changes.
They're shorter bushes.
And it changes on its own. No matter what, it's going to flower and die. It doesn't need a cycle of 8 hours of light and a photo period. It doesn't need 8 hours of light and then you switch it to 12 hours of light to make it flower.
Okay.
It automatically does. Some guys leave them for 18 hours.
Well, you were into a phase there where you were really pushing into the ruderolus realm.
Yeah, I did. And you know what?
You backed out. Why?
Because I grew some big ones. I grew some 6-foot autos. But the stability on those plants, no matter who the breeder was, I don't care, because I tried tons of genetic breeders, even from England, they're not stable. Those plants can be 18 inches tall or 4 feet tall.
Really?
You just don't know.
Am I
And
saying
any
it right?
stress,
Am I saying it right?
yeah, ruderolus.
Okay.
Any stress of that plant will cause it to flower. Anything. The pot's just a little too small, it'll flower at that size. And guys brag about it, and I just look at it like, what a waste of time and food, nutrients for your plants.
So it's
And
got
it
like
just-
a little
it just-
nug off it.
My buddy who still grows here, and I was telling you about him, the one who gave me the seeds, he grows them, and he gets 30 grams. Dude, 30 grams? I tell him I get that off of one branch.
Yeah.
So what? It's not worth it. And he'll grow 8 of them, and he'll think he's doing it. And I just look at him like, dude, that takes one plant if you do it right with one plant. A photo plant, not ruderolus. You do it with an indica or a sativa, and you're going to get 3 times, 4 times what you just got on that little thing.
Yeah. What we could keep going on this, but I'm gonna invite you back in. I think at a later day, if you're up to it, to really like if it legalizes in North.
I can even bring in the things, everything I use,
would-
because I would love everybody to know how to grow.
Could we do a cooking show with Carlos Alfonso?
Oh yeah, dude.
Like let's book it like before Christmas. Let's do it. Like for real.
Yeah, definitely, dude. I got seeds. I got all the
Come
foods.
on.
I can show you how to. I can bring.
You're gonna have to take the Packer hat off, and you're gonna have to clean up a little bit.
Oh, should I wear a tie?
No, just I'm picking.
I
but
know.
but it'd be nice to really. I'd like to.
Oh, I would love to teach.
I'd like to
everybody in the
We'll
world.
use this
dude.
table. We'll put you on the blue screen, and we'll just let you go to town for as long as it takes, and we'll do episodes.
Oh, dude, yeah.
All right, let's do that.
Well,
But-
I'll even germinate some. Well, I don't know if you'd want me to germinate anything here.
I don't know. Whatever. We'll figure it out. So, if you could go back in time, and you could talk to yourself at 14, what would you say to yourself?
You're not stronger than the drugs. That's what I would say to myself. Yeah, don't. Yeah, that's what I would say, man. You're not stronger than.
Anything else? You've got 3.5
No, because you know what?
minutes.
You know what? I'm happy with what I've done or what I've become. Not my past, but you know what? I'm not that. That's the past. And to me, I learned a lot, dude. I did, and I was on my own for a long time, and never did I have to steal or hurt somebody to get what I needed. Never. And I'm glad for that. And I don't think I ever would have. I would have suffered before I would have done that. Mm-hmm. You know, I would have been without.
You never went to prison.
No, I've been arrested 3 times. Never charged with a single thing. Every time I told the truth, and they'd look at me like I was crazy. And I'd tell them, dude, I don't feel I'm doing anything wrong, guys.
Oh, wait. Let's tell this story. So, every time you find yourself in conflict with the law or the DEA or whomever, you're just incredibly bluntly honest with them in every way about who you are and what you do. Like, how has that method really... I mean, I don't mean to ask a redundant question, but, like, this method has worked for you.
Every time.
You know...
And I've been thinking I'm going to jail. And I thought one time I was cuffed, sitting waiting for DEA to come in Colorado. And I told them, I said, you put me in the same cell as my roommate, you'll have a reason to put me in jail. Mm-hmm. I told them, you will have a reason then to put me in jail. And I never got charged. My roommate got charged.
Well, like, you use this method also in your work, and it got you
I
promoted.
do. Yeah, I always have too.
You would go, like, you thought you were going to get fired at one point at CVS, and you told me that you just told Anthony.
Yeah.
We know this guy named Anthony, just whatever. You told him exactly
It was
what.
my boss.
Yeah, you were like, I know this is exactly why I did this. This is what I did, and I don't think I did anything wrong. And he's like,
Yeah, he just looked at me and said, you know, you can get fired for that. And I said, yeah, but I'm telling you what I did. And all he said to me was, you remind me of my cousin. And I said, why? And he says, because you just let it all out. You don't care. You're going to tell me what you think. And I said, that's because that's what I was. That's at 17, dude, when you join the Army, you don't think that they're going to change the way you're thinking, or they're not going to mold you into what they want. And I really think that when I got off that bus to go to basic training and got off the plane, they put you on a bus and you get to the MEP station. I got to that station, they handed me stripes. I didn't know how to do an about face. I didn't know how to do right turn, left turn. I didn't know how to salute.
you could maybe do 50 push-ups, though.
Yeah, I could do. And I couldn't run. No, I couldn't run. I can't run. I'm not a runner.
No reason.
I got too big of thighs, Cuban thighs.
No, I think it might be the MS.
Yeah. And they gave me stripes, and I said, "What the?" And they said, "You're gonna be a squad leader." And I thought, "Holy shit!" My platoon guy was in my squad, and he's in charge of everybody. Yeah. I went to him and I said, "Dude, I don't know what the fuck. I've never been in ROTC. I don't know what about face, how to salute, and don't know how to do any of this." And he says, "Oh, I'll show you." And he showed me, and I learned. And through all the basic, and they told me that most guys don't make it through all the basic as a squad leader. Because they did take my stripes once. Mm-hmm. I was in the hospital though, That was another thing that I say caused my diabetes. Basic training, I spent 4 days in the hospital with 105 temperature for the first 2 days. And the only thing they wrote on my papers when I got out of the hospital was viral syndrome. And it was right after that, I went to my advanced training, finished high school, went to advanced training, finished my advanced training, and all of a sudden, I'm a diabetic. And I always blame. I say, did something happen in basic?
Did the diabetes wash you out?
Yeah, it did. And you know what? I made it. To me, I already did what I wanted to do. I passed your basic training. I did your advanced training. I did get a certificate to fix tanks. I used to drive tanks. My job in the Army, for 6 months, I went to advanced training to drive tanks and a tank mechanic, track wheel mechanic. 60 hotel with a 19 mic. Yeah, that was my job.
You didn't see any combat?
No. I got called to the Gulf War. All of a sudden, I get papers in the mail, and Desert Storm was going on, and my unit was going. So they called me to report to the MEP station. I reported to the MEP station, and the sergeant at the desk said to me, "Where you been?" And I said, "What do you mean where I've been? I'm a diabetic. I take 4 shots a day." He's all, "Oh, man, get out of here." And that was it.
What are you going to do?
And they did pay my, what do you call it? They gave me the GI Bill. That's another reason I joined, because I didn't want my parents to pay for my college. They paid for my sisters, and they complained if they had to pay for mine all the time. So I said, I'll just join the Army and get a $25,000 GI Bill and pay for college. And they did. Even when I got out and I was going to college, they paid. I got my tuition paid. I did get my tuition paid. So that was another reason I joined. But the Army, the one thing it did teach me is you lead by example. And that was the first thing that the drill sergeants get on you about, is if I do this, you're going to do it. If I'm not going to ask you to do something that I'm not going to do first. And they lived that. That was their code, man. And at 17, I guess I adopted that code and thought, they're right. They're right. Why am I going to tell you to do something and me not do it first? And in managing was the same style. I'll do it first. I'll show you how to do it, and then you can do it.
There's that Egyptian hieroglyph with the leader and they're all wearing the Sphinx faces. And there's the guy, and he's pulling, and all the you want to call them slaves, but they're just other workers. They're behind the leader pulling. I think that's neat. That's
something that can interpret it as you got to lead by example. You got to lead. That's by all example.
That hieroglyph really means.
And in the Army, that was important, man. And that was, they drill that into your head, because when I got there, before I even got to basic, my thought was, am I willing to kill somebody? I'm 17.
Yeah.
And am I willing to kill? And they ask you that.
And you knew a war was coming.
Yeah. And they asked me that, and I thought, and I slept on it one night, all night, sitting there thinking in my bunk. And I thought, and I would tell some of the guys, I don't think I can do that. I don't think I can shoot somebody just because.
I don't think you can do it until you have to do it.
And that's what they told us finally. Because I told them, I said, I don't know if I can do it. And they said, when someone's doing it to you, you're going to do it back. You will do it back.
Yeah.
And then they kind of put that in your head. They try to, they really try to put a lot of crap in your head. But I can understand why a lot of guys can't make it. There were guys that, man, who could do anything physical. Huge. Hundreds of push-ups like nothing. But when someone got in their face and screamed at them and told them what to do and called them a piece of crap or whatever they're going to call you, they break down.
Yeah.
And for me, dude, they could get in my face and they could be screaming and insulting me, dude.
You start laughing.
And it would go in one ear and out the other. And then they'd walk away and I'd look at the guy next to me and say, dude, whatever, man. It ain't gonna. And
well, a lot of it was theatrics, too. I mean, they do that all the time in the military.
Yeah.
It's just expected to yell and scream. It's just a loud environment.
They mess with you. They do things to. But you know what? It's a challenge. And if you make it, you can say, I made it. I did. I went through it.
Well, I mean, I haven't met one person from the military who didn't wear it as a badge of honor, even if they were discharged without honor, or
right. No, you put up with it.
I haven't met a single parent or former or widow who didn't talk about their son or daughter who died in combat, or died on the job with pride. They just don't do it. They're like, he was first infantry, blah blah blah, and he went off with his boots on, and and everyone's like, they're happy about it, but they're sad. I haven't met anyone, man. I don't know, maybe.
But
Charmaine
I tell my wife that I would like my kids to, if they don't know what they want. If you don't know what you want to do,
You think your son's gonna go?
no, my wife won't let him. My wife hates the military.
Well, what's he want to do?
He's never told me. I told him to join the military.
Yeah.
I told him, if you don't know what you want to do, you know what? You got 3 hots and a cot for 2 years at least.
3 hots.
Food.
Oh, 3 hot meals and a cup.
Yeah.
Got it. So, that's a really great transition here. My second and last question is: what are your hopes and dreams for your family, specifically your children? What are your hopes for them?
Did you just make it on their own, man?
That's
Really,
it. Again,
that is really
because I talked about your
dude.
fears before.
Dude, if you even when someone's dying, family members dying, all they want to know is that you're gonna be okay, for them to be able to die. Mm-hmm. It makes their death a lot easier. They know, okay, they're gonna be okay if I die. When they don't know that, they hold on longer to that. They hold on longer. Whether they're dying or not, they will last longer in misery, just because you're not showing that you'll be okay.
They're just holding on to make sure
that you're gonna
even
be
though
all
that's causing,
right.
even though you holding on might be causing your children more pain. They're
Right. You just want them to say, I can do this on my own, or you want to be able to see, okay, they can survive on their own.
Yeah.
Because for me, dude, it wasn't easy, but I know I could do it, and I know they could do it. But it's still scary because things are different than when I was. Mm-hmm. There's too much information, too much bullshit. That I just, that's my biggest fear. Even with my 23-year-old, dude.
She's smart though, dude.
Yeah, but she's not going to school.
Yeah.
She's got to find a job that's gonna, like you said, you got to find a job.
She's an artist, true and true and true. She'll get there. She'll figure it out.
That's my biggest concern. But I try telling my wife that it's just they can make it on their own. Don't. And she just does everything for them, dude. I tell her, you're still wiping their ass.
Well, maybe metaphorically.
Still.
My last question is for the room, Charmaine. Any final thoughts on everything that you've heard here tonight?
No, I think it's it's a really good conversation. Thanks for coming out. The idea of having them come in again, I think is really good. Part 2 could be.
Part 2, or even the growing.
Yeah, part 2 of this, or even just if you want to.
Let's do the. I really think.
We can talk about it later off there.
I really think the move is to have you do a how to grow session, 7 episodes, or however many we need.
I got a lot of friends that have been asking me to teach them to grow too.
I think it's
some
time.
even moved here.
I think it's time. Whether the cannabis be CBD, Delta 8, 9, 10, THCO, or actual pure indica, like 34%. Like how
THC 34%.
I feel like the method's the same in a way, right?
Yeah, I did. But not with all those. Those are all chemicals.
Got it. THCO is not a flower.
And even Delta 8 is.
This is.
It's 3 milligrams less. It's only it's under 3.3 milligrams of THC, actual THC.
Oh, I'm aware.
So I like real flower.
Look,
I like real flower.
As a smoker, I want to say that I'm very grateful that Delta 8 exists, and I have.
Yeah, because it's legal right now,
and it does work for those ailments that we have. The one thing I've found for anyone who smokes Delta 8 and hates how harsh it is, if you just put an orange peel in it, it really cleans up the harshness. I think a lot of what's happening.
How are you taking it? How have you taken it?
I smoke
you
flower.
Oh, you smoke it straight off of flower with Delta 8?
I like it that way. I'm a bit of.
It's probably not even as harsh as smoking in a cart. Really,
I don't like the cartridges. I don't know what I'm getting with the chemicals. You just don't know what you're getting. Right. And I had a really bad experience in Colorado in 2015, where we smoked a bad cartridge, and it riddled us with panic attacks for 6.5 months. Just that one instance. And that was
I think you remember when I had those panic attacks. It was do-si-do
yeah.
in that pot, and I just
What's do-si-do?
it's a strain. It's
Okay.
a strain, and that strain, my wife loves it, but for me, dude, I didn't sleep for a week almost.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't that it was like even in my wheelchair I couldn't sit. I didn't want to sit in it because I was having anxiety attacks just sitting.
That's not good.
And when you're in a wheelchair and you want to get up and walk it off, and you can't even walk, oh, dude, I was screaming in the house, punching things.
Yeah.
I can't stand this feeling.
Yeah, but I found that if you put an orange peel or something like that, a rind from a pineapple, into your Delta 8 flower with it, within an hour you have a really nice moist smoke, and it's not nearly as harsh. However, you know, if you can get by without
See,
it,
with
I
Delta
recommend
8,
it.
they're not
you-
that flower doesn't grow with Delta 8 on it. They
Really?
spray it.
Really?
Yeah, that's
Not
spray, dude. It's a
That's-
spray. It's
Well,
not true. It's not a real cannabinoid.
What's that?
It's
The more you know. I didn't know that.
yeah, it's not. That's sprayed.
Can you see if that's real life? Let's double check.
Nah, it's sprayed. Delta 8.
He's probably right. Carlos, what are your final
CBD isn't sprayed on hemp, but it doesn't have the amounts of.
Yeah. What are your final thoughts here tonight, this evening? I mean, I'm gonna talk to you 100 more times. I know it, but like for me getting you on here, if this were your last day on Earth, what would be your final thought for the world?
Wow.
What would you say to people if I can't? Let's say things go south next week and I can't get you back in.
What would I say about what though? About
Your life, the whole the wholeness of Carlos.
You know what?
Like what?
I think you can do anything you freaking want, man. Anyone can do anything they want. Man, even the hard times, there's always a lesson, man. There's always a lesson to be learned. There's always, and the more lessons you want to learn, the more you want to keep going. The more you do want to keep going. If you don't want to learn anymore, obviously you're not interested in life anymore because there's a lesson every freaking day, man.
Every day.
Every freaking, yeah, there is a lesson every day.
And, you know, I mean, from the hyper complicated lessons that you can learn from growing cannabis, you know, to which actually probably are they're low tech complications at the end of it, if you think about it, to like learning how to navigate your 14-year-old daughter, or in my case, a 4-year-old daughter. Like, she teaches me
Oh,
something every day.
and the things are going to change so much by the time she's older. So,
well-
and it's all information, man. So much information now, but it doesn't mean it's all real either.
Yeah.
That's what's scary.
Yeah.
That's what's scary
Speaking
to me.
of, Charmaine, what we have here? Delta 8 THC can be manufactured from hemp-derived CBD. It's currently in a legal gray area. Concentrated Delta 8 THC is added to products from gummies to vape, cartridges, and even sprayed on low THC hemp flower and then sold as a smokable product. Bullshit.
They spray it.
Damn it.
They spray it. And
See-
I'm telling you, it's not.
That's not
It's
cool.
derived maybe from it, but they add all kinds of chemicals to change that molecule to an 8. And it's this carbon molecule. I've read all about it, how they change it from Delta 9, and what the difference between Delta 8, it's only one molecule carbon. And it's changed. And that's why it's legal. But it's not natural, dude. I'm telling you, it's not a natural. They make it.
Well, I prefer the natural smoke, and while we're caught in the nets of legality with proper THC flower, like how? I mean, I don't even know what the right question to ask here is, Carlos. But it's like we're stuck in this weird harness where we can't get to proper herbs.
Right, we can't get the real stuff, but we can get the fake stuff that causes more damage.
That also is creating a vacuum for financial growth for people who are not necessarily honest.
And not interested in treating someone for any ailment. So.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah, that there is. That's why you got to teach everyone how to grow real cannabis, even hemp if you want to smoke hemp. But it's all got to be legal.
And when you say
man.
hemp is CBD, right?
Yeah,
Alright.
yeah. Hemp. To me, people tell you, "Oh, hemp and cannabis aren't even the same." It's the same thing.
It sure smells the
It's
same.
the same thing, right? It doesn't burn the same or taste the same, but it's the same plant. I'm telling you, and they'll tell you it's not.
Well, it's just, again, back to the hypocrisies of the industry. I remember in 2002.
But you know what? It's not only the industry; it's the government.
Yeah.
It's the government.
But in 2002, I walk into a smoke shop in Boone where there's tons of, but this was when they were cracking down on weed in Boone, 2002-3, right? And I walk in and I'm like, I'm looking for a good weed ball. What you got? And they have them all lined up right there. And he's like, well, since you said weed, I can't sell you one, man. And I'm like, what the fuck is this thing right here, man? Are you telling me that I'm going to smoke anything other than
I
cannabis
remember
in
in
this?
Cali doing that, getting bongs. You couldn't call. Yeah, a water pipe.
You can't call it a bong.
No, it's got to be a water pipe.
know, like-
Tobacco use only.
But
yeah.
it's like, but these are all like nonsensical things that our culture is agreeing to do and participate in. You know, and to me, like, what's the point? Why do we do these things? You know,
Yeah, it's ignorance to me,
Why-
man. It
you know-
really is because
Jason down at Trinity Farms is growing weed and selling weed, but I can't walk in there and go, hey, man, I need some weed.
nope, you gotta get it as hemp.
Well, he's cool with it. He's cool. But, like, you know, they always flinch when you say, hey, I'm looking for some good weed. You know, they're like,
I've never done that. I've never been to one of those
Well,
shops,
you walk
dude.
into
I'd
a-
love to.
you walk into a pot store,
I'd love to. I never have. Never have
And
I
you-
been to any dispensary.
you know, like, we have to be intelligent and call it cannabis.
I've been to head shops. Yeah,
You know,
you get caught.
but it's just, it doesn't make any sense. And I just don't understand. So, I guess I just
I don't
gotta-
know. It's even it's like even the cops do it, dude. Even cops that I've when I get arrested for weed, they even told me, you know what? I'd rather see you smoking weed than doing some of the drugs. Some of the drug addicts we have to stop.
Well, last...
We're the easy target.
Last-
Hotheads are easy targets because they don't get violent.
Well, last story here before we go, because we're already at, are we at 3?
3 out of 3.
Okay. So my mom is guardian ad litem in Catawba County, and there are some people we won't name who have lost their children to heavy drugs. It just can't stop. Okay. And the father is he's like you, he's a recovered addict, but he lives in, let's say he lives in the Midwest, and he lives in a place where it's legal to smoke cannabis. Probably CBD legal, but still illegal, right? And they had hired a private eye to go catch him on tape, like on camera, smoking a joint. So that he couldn't get access to the kids, right? And it became a big hoopla in the court because the judge was like, we can't have you smoking cannabis and taking a kid home, you know? And he had to fight it and fight it and fight it. And, you know, the ad litems had to stand up for this man. And the leader of the ad litem community there was like, I don't know if she said this to the judge in private or if she said it, I don't know how it happened, but she was like, this is not what we're looking for when we're looking at bad parents. Okay? It's like, you have, like, she wasn't talking to the judge, but she was talking to us after the fact. She's like, when we go in to these homes, pot is the last thing that we're thinking about at all. Like, just like the DEA.
The DES said
Yeah.
that to me when she came in.
Yeah.
I see you have a nice home. I don't think you have a situation or a problem here. No, I don't.
But she was like, you have no idea.
Yeah, and she told me that.
Yeah.
You don't know.
We've
what
had
homes
similar
we
stories
go in.
then. But it's like, you have no idea how bad it is. And so, like, they're finding, like, children being raped at 4 and 5 years old. They're finding, you know, children being abandoned in cars in the middle of the summer, you know, just because their parents wanted to go do drugs down by the creek, you know, forgetting their kid was in the car. So horrible stuff going on out there. So for me, it's like, this is one of the least issues on the docket.
And why is the government still trying to fight it and make it illegal when most states, I think there's 17 states right now in the United States where it's medical marijuana is legal. 17.
It's like, why are they taking so long to get to the profit point for this to be really great for our country?
Yeah, and they've been talking about the profits, the billions the marijuana market's brought into Colorado. So it's great for the states, but the federal government doesn't want to get involved. I don't know why.
Well, it's just like Joe Biden's keeping his mouth shut about it. It's not even on his ticket. Right
No,
now.
and it was before he said he would legalize.
He was
it.
like, "Yeah, legalize it
medically
when I
it
get
is."
to it."
Yeah, it won't. It won't. But there's got to be a reason why. I mean, it's not because it's gonna kill somebody.
I don't know.
Because that was what they used to say about it. Oh, that you can turn into a bat. One guy, if I read some articles of people who the government had tested and write articles about it.
Well, it cures night blindness, right?
Yeah.
So, I'm kidding. Anyways, let's end this thing, man. We're at 3 hours. You want to end it with that? You want to?
Yeah.
All right, cool. I'm Josh Lloyd, and you're on the Ridge. Thanks for watching.